What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another week, another episode of 30 NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Tango Gameworks gets picked up from Crafton Inc. So we'll talk about that for a little bit. We're going to talk about, we're going to watch and talk about Force Gaming has an interview with the Dune MMO developers of Dune Awakening. We're going to watch that video. And then we're going to go over Borderlands, the film. It did it. It did it. I didn't think it was possible. But it literally, it flopped massively at the box office. It didn't even break $9 million this weekend. So, there we go. I told you it was going to flop. You guys are like, nah. Not all of you. Okay, but you're like, nah, it's not going to be that bad. And we're like, okay. I didn't think it was going to hit 40 million, and because that was based off of the Marvels, which bombed at the box office. And this one is not even going to make a grand total of 46 million in its complete entire run. So we'll talk about the Borderlands film as well. So that's what's on the show today. If you like what we do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. What's going on, chat? What's going on, Travis? What's going on, Dustin? What's going on, Sarge? Water Bear, Eclipse, Dolphin, Argus. Good morning, Roic. How's everyone doing? Hope you guys had a good weekend. School started back up over here in the in the Florida area, so my kids started school today. Come on, Water Bear. It didn't flop. Water Bear says it didn't flop. It straight died its first weekend out. Yeah, there's no coming back from this, Water. There is no coming back from this for the Borderlands. It is absolutely a travesty. I thought you were about to say y'all thought it would flop, and you were wrong. No, Jax. No. I gave it the smell test. I gave it the visual test last year, and I said that this movie's going to bomb big time. Big time. It hit the water and sank. Yeah, it's been a long time since a movie like this. It's been a long time. What's going on, Drummerman? Oh, I appreciate hitting that like button. I appreciate it. What's going on, Ron? Ron Slusher says, watch Hi-Fi Rush 2 is skip Xbox consoles. Terrible move, Microsoft. Well, they actually, they gave them, right? They let them, they closed the studio down, but I think they gave the rights away. They're like, yeah, here you go. You can have Hi-Fi Rush. You can have, and I'm like, that's interesting. So we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Yeah, Deadpool this weekend, which is what, the third weekend, made 54 million this weekend. 54 million? I think it's 54 million. Let me see. Yeah, 54.2 million. 54.2 million. And in other news, Ryan Reynolds' wife had a movie come out, and she hit 50 million this weekend. So husband and wife, two separate movies, both break $50 million this weekend. This was the opening weekend, right? Yeah, it just opened this weekend. Yeah. All right. You guys do anything fun this weekend? Ron says Morbius did better than Borderlands. Let that sink in. Did it? Did it? Hold on. Is that true? Oh, yeah. It did a lot better. It did. It did 6 times better. It made 39 million in its opening weekend. Borderlands would kill for those numbers. Yeah, just on Friday alone, it doubled what it did in its entire weekend, Morbius. And Morbius was a pile of shit, let's be honest, right? Thanks for pointing that out, Ron. Yeah. Morbius made $17 million in its first day. And that movie was an absolute garbage dump. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. What did Madam Web make? Madam Web doubled it. It made 15 million. Okay, in its opening. Oh no, that was opening weekend. 15. Man, those are some bad. Who thought you could get worse than Madam Web? Oh my god. It's Morbin time. So it's a nice family weekend. Nice. I don't even know what the hell we did. Watched the Olympics. We tied. United States tied with China for the most gold medals. The women's basketball team pulled it off at the end to get that last gold. I haven't watched the closing ceremonies. I think my wife did. Let's see. We checked out a resort. We're doing like a staycation for my son's birthday is the end of this month. So we checked out this resort that we're going to stay at. That was good. Nate comes in and says, how much I owe 30? Nate, I never want a movie to do this bad. I never want to do a movie this bad, right? I gave it the benefit of the doubt and said it won't break 45 million. It couldn't break 45 million if it stayed in the theaters for another 10 weeks. Okay. It only made 8.8 million this weekend. Like it's bad. It's bad. Argus says you do worse than Madam Web and you need to reconsider your existence as a company. I played a little bit this weekend, Travis. Not much. I got up to what did I do? I played the Venom fight inside the bell tower. That's the last thing I've done. All right, let's start off with take two. We'll get to the Borderlands stuff, but oh, I'm sorry. Let's start off with the Hi-Fi Rush. All right, so Microsoft, right? Microsoft decided to get rid of, which is mind-boggling to me, right? They're like, this game won awards, right? It's a great game. We put it on Game Pass. We didn't market it in any way, shape, or form. It sold really well for what they thought it was going to sell. It was actually a really fun game. I played it myself. I really loved Hi-Fi Rush. And then Microsoft decided to say, hey, we're going to get rid of it. And they closed the studio down. Well, thank God. Thank God former Xbox studio Tango Gameworks and Hi-Fi Rush have been acquired by PUBG's Crafton Inc., saving it from closure. If you like what we do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. We cover news stories, have conversations, talk to live chat. Live chat is 1,000% part of the show every single morning. We'll get you through a couple of hours of your day if you're at work, if you're at home, or whatever you're doing. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. So former Xbox studio Tango Work Games, or Tango Gameworks, Hi-Fi Rush have been acquired by PUBG's Crafton Inc., saving it from closure. Now, Crafton is picking up a former Xbox team Tango Gameworks, as Hi-Fi Rush revealed today, which was a couple days ago. It says, Tango Gameworks will live on as Microsoft has reached an agreement with publisher Krafton to maintain the studio. Krafton Inc., known for games like the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, has fully acquired Tango Gameworks from Xbox, as well as the rights to its recent action hit Hi-Fi Rush. So there you go. So not only did they close it down, Microsoft sold it off. Now, we don't know what it sold it off for, but they, PUBG, Krafton Inc. bought it from them. Microsoft announced that it would also close Tango Gameworks earlier this year as part of a round of layoffs that saw a few other Xbox game studios closed. Now, Tango was known for its games like four-dimension high-octane rhythm brawler Hi-Fi Rush, as well as survival horror franchise Evil Within. Now, Tango was initially established in 2010, okay, and it came across Microsoft as part of the ZeniMax acquisition. Now, Krafton Inc. shared a press release detailing its plans for Tango Gameworks as well as a future of Hi-Fi Rush franchise. It says, quote, Krafton Inc. today welcomed the talented people from Tango Gameworks to those teams, marketing an exciting moment for the company's global expansion. It's the first significant investment in Japanese video game market, and the press release reads, strategic move is include the rights to Tango Gameworks' acclaimed IP Hi-Fi Rush. So obviously, because they're picking up the IP of Hi-Fi Rush, I would assume that they're going to make a Hi-Fi Rush 2, and as Ron in chat says, wouldn't it be funny if they don't put it on Xbox? Now, that would be pretty freaking hilarious. But because they got the Hi-Fi Rush, obviously this is a franchise they could easily make 2-3 different games. So hopefully they do make a sequel to Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was a fantastic game. Those of you that have never played it before, regardless if Microsoft closes the studio down, it's a fantastic game, and you should go try it out or check it out or buy it or whatever, especially now that Tango Gameworks is still available. Now, Krafton continued, as part of the strategic agreement, Krafton intends to collaborate with Xbox and ZeniMax to ensure smooth transition and maintain continuous Tango Gameworks, allowing the talented team to continue developing Hi-Fi Rush IP and exploring future projects. Now, Krafton intends to support Tango Gameworks team to continue its commitment, innovation, and delivering a fresh, exciting experience for the fans. Now, it's interesting. It says, as part of a strategic agreement, Krafton intends to collaborate with Xbox and ZeniMax. So it's like Xbox didn't want to put the money up and whatnot for the studio, but they're willing to work with them and collaborate with them to basically get Hi-Fi Rush 2, going here. Interesting. So the fact that Hi-Fi Rush is heading across also heavily suggests that the sequel will most likely emerge from the partnership. However, a franchise like Ghostwire Tokyo and Evil Within will also remain with Microsoft, at least for now. Both Krafton and Microsoft emphasize that there will be no impact on the existing catalog of games, and which will remain available for the Xbox Game Pass and other storefronts, and they are presently on. So Microsoft sold off Tango Gameworks, and they sold off the Hi-Fi Rush IP, but they kept the IP of the Evil Within. They kept the IP of Ghostwire Tokyo, which is also very interesting. So maybe now they'll have a contract where they're like, well, you guys own the company, we own the IP, we would like to make you guys make these games in the future. So little 4D chess for Microsoft, right? They don't have to keep those people on. They don't have to pay for their salaries. They don't have to pay for any of that stuff. So they can just give them the IP, let that company make the games that they need to get made, and then come back with the strategic workout that they're doing to put it back on Xbox. So in a statement to Windows Central, a Microsoft spokesperson shared that the following, we're working with Krafton to enable the team at Tango Gameworks to continue to build games together, and we look forward to playing with their next great game, and there is no impact in the existing catalog of Tango games. Now, here's my question about this. Why didn't Microsoft just say this in the beginning when they were like, yeah, we're instead of firing and letting go of the studio, why didn't they say we're looking for other buyers for Tango Gameworks? Instead of this like this bad PR of Microsoft letting go of a studio. You know what I mean? Like, they said they closed the studio, but they technically still had the studio, right? Months ago they said this, but now they said they've sold it off to Krafton Inc. Interesting. So it says it's potential new beginnings of Tango Gameworks as well as the fans of Hi-Fi Rush. Tango Gameworks surprised Xbox fans earlier last year with Hi-Fi Rush, which shadow dropped and nowhere strategy into Game Pass. At the time, Microsoft described the success a broad swath of cost-cutting measurements earlier in 2024 led to Tango's ultimately shuttering. Okay, for Krafton to step in and give the studio a new release of life is incredibly exciting and, dare to say, uplifting. It's also be interesting to see where it goes all from here. It's nice to see that at least one happy ending in the year has also been dominated by layoffs across the entertainment and tech. Perhaps we get a really lucky Microsoft will get let Tango Gameworks have a stab at the new entry of the Evil Within franchise too someday, if Tango wants to, of course. Now, for now, it says, I'm just happy for the studio to get another chance to thrive and become increasingly competitive, though, in the industry. So, again, it just seems really weird that you would have a company that you would close down. Let the news articles just roll in that Microsoft laying off, and instead of Microsoft going, yeah, we're not going to use Tango Gameworks, but we're looking to sell off Tango Gameworks to another buyer in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe Crafton just came along and said, hey, we know you got rid of Tango Gameworks. Are you willing to sell it? Microsoft's like, yeah, sure, we're not doing anything with it, right? So it's very interesting to see. What do you guys think in the comment section down below or in live chat? Obviously, I don't think there's a bad sign about this. I think this is a very good thing. 1, people keep their jobs. 2, the company stays open. 3, Hi-Fi Rush has another lease on life to make Hi-Fi Rush 2. And it is interesting that they are working with Microsoft closely and also Bethesda to do the transition. And also, they sold that specific IP of Hi-Fi Rush. So this goes into even further of maybe Microsoft really didn't like that game. Like, Tango was working on it when they bought Bethesda. Microsoft picked it up. It was a game that was already in the works. Maybe they just did not like the style. Maybe they just did not like the beat thing. I don't know. It just seems like, 1, you closed the studio down after it won awards and it was a really good game. And now 2, you sold just that IP off. Even though Tango Gameworks left, you didn't sell the other IPs that they owned, but you sold this specific one off, which I think is kind of strange. But let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right, let me see what you guys are saying here. Let's see. Argus says they couldn't possibly dumb the fault off the entire world's population with this measly numbers. No doubt anyone's mind whose fault that is. Oh, are you guys talking about the film? Argus says, I thought it was already closed, therefore not possible of saving. Maybe I'm thinking of another company. But that's the way it came across, Argus. They said that they closed the studio. They closed Tango Gameworks. People were out of jobs, right? And then all of a sudden, now Microsoft sold off that chunk. And those people that lost their job now have a job 2 months later. So basically, they had a vacation. They had a vacation. Eclipse says, or not Eclipse, Brainchild says, they released with some changes and added art style in the game mods to PUBG. Eclipse says, oh man, Hi-Fi Rush is going to be making the live service money. Let's go. Maybe they come back and make that live service, huh? Nate says, the previews made the movie, oh, he's talking about Borderlands. The previews made the movie look way better, and it was also Kevin Hart wasn't even funny. It was like they were trying too hard to be funny at moments and left before it was over. Oh, wait a minute, Nate. Wait a minute, Nate. You walked out of the theater? You walked out of the theater? Oh, that's priceless. Oh, that's priceless, Nate. I'm sorry. Good morning, Mo. Good morning. Eclipse says, I knew that movie was going to be bad when they made a PG-13 play. The Borderlands heads are popping off at the damn time. Oh, man. That's fantastic. East Vandal says, not sure why Xbox didn't team with Amazon and make Hi-Fi Rush anime, making it the IP most popular and making Hi-Fi Rush 2. Yet, that seems like a really good business model, right? It seems like they have a problem with Hi-Fi Rush specifically, doesn't it, though, Vandal? Right? Like, they kept the other IPs. They just got rid of Hi-Fi Rush. No. I don't know what that is. I'll be honest. I want to say no, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not sure. If you put whatever card on, whatever you have attached to your YouTube account, if that's like a Visa or something, then sure. Eclipse says you can. There you go. There you go. Jack says they negotiated favorable terms where the games don't leave Game Pass, or they were possible going to pass on it, but it was just hi-fi. Why not the entire catalog at that point? Yeah, it's very strange, Jax, that they decided that they were going to keep The Evil Within. They were going to keep Ghostwire Tokyo, but they're getting rid of just Hi-Fi Rush, but they're working with them to help them. So it's almost like Crafton Inc. is working with Xbox exclusively for their titles. So they own Tango Games. So now Xbox or Microsoft can now go, hey, Crafton, we want to know if you guys want to make another Ghostwire Tokyo for Tango Gameworks. And they're like, yeah, sure. So they're in bed with them now. Possibly. I mean, obviously, any studio can make those games now because they're holding on to the IPs. August says, yeah, it's weird that they announced then. Then everyone definitely covered it as it was closed. People were let go, and the talent was sprinkled about elsewhere. Right. It makes no sense to me why Microsoft, obviously, they didn't know someone was interested in the company at the time when they said they were letting people go. But at the same time, they could have been like, yeah, we don't want Tango Gameworks, and we're looking to shop it around. Maybe they didn't want to, because then Sony would have picked them up. You know what I mean? There's reasons for everything. Obviously, we're not able to know what those things are, but it's very strange for the public to think that Microsoft closed this studio down. It's over for them. That whole thing is done, and then all of a sudden now we hear that they actually have a second lease on life. The clip says maybe they want to get away from the kid image. Like they're fine with the games being on Game Pass, but they don't want their first party games to be like that. They got rid of the toys for Bob too. Yeah, but that could be possible, Eclipse. But the weird part is that they're trying to get into the market of Japan, right? They're trying to get over to that market over there. And they had their, like, even in the article that they were talking about, Crafton was excited because they got into that Japanese market now, right? So it makes no sense to me that Microsoft was trying to get into the Japanese market, but then all of a sudden they get rid of their Japanese developer. Dolphin says, maybe the game director of Hi-Fi Rush pissed off Microsoft. Well, he left before the whole closing thing. Like, he left when Bethesda got bought out, I believe, by Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. Nate says, Travis, I did left a halfway point. I wouldn't say that was why I find the sites and watch movies for free. I hadn't been to the movies since COVID. Oh, no, Nate. Oh, no, Nate. This is the first movie you went back to the theater for? Oh, boy. No. Go back and go watch Deadpool and Wolverine. I haven't seen it yet, but people say it's a fantastic movie to see. Don't let this be your first movie back and ruin it for you. Roadkill says, no, they have so many kid games on Xbox. That's retarded. Yeah. I mean, it could be plausible what Eclipse is saying, Roadkill, right? But it just doesn't make sense because of the Japanese developer that they're trying to get into the Japanese market. Especially since they're bringing like Final Fantasy onto Xbox and they're bringing all the other, what's it called? Like a dragon type of stuff to Xbox as well. East Vandal says, Phil was right about Bungie and Game Pass. He's smart. I guess he had the reasons for selling Hi-Fi Rush. Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. He was right about those things, right? It's just weird to me that they try to get into that market, and maybe they just never liked Hi-Fi Rush. Maybe this is why they didn't advertise Hi-Fi Rush. This is why they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush. They put out Hi-Fi Rush. They just didn't like anything about it, which is very strange, right? Because now they didn't market it. They just dropped it on Game Pass, and then they got rid of the company, and now they sold off the IP. It seems like they really just don't like Hi-Fi Rush. So someone, and again, I'm taking speculations here, but someone across the board pissed off somebody, and that game is just done. So maybe, you know, he's correct by saying the director, you know, Dolphin said the director pissed him off. Possibly. Travis says he hated Xbox. Said it was the worst job he's ever had. It would never work for the transed monkey than Phil Spencer. Is that what he said? Oh, we have to talk about. We'll talk about the Fortnite thing after this because I watched this weekend with my son. Yeah, Nate, don't let this movie be your first movie back from not going to the movies all these years. They said they met all the projections as well. I'm still confused about that one. Everyone is. Everybody is. Nobody can make any kind of sense why they left Hi-Fi Rush go. Yeah, so it's very, very strange, but very, very good news for the people that work for Tango Games. They got a new lease on life. They got the Hi-Fi Rush. It'll be interesting to see if they make. Obviously, again, Hi-Fi Rush, fantastic game, fantastic game. Highly recommend. Obviously, it's a beat. It's a you know, you gotta go with the beats and stuff like that. It's a rhythm game. So if you have no rhythm, I'm sorry for you. Okay. I don't recommend it if you don't have any rhythm. But if you have rhythm, okay, it's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game. All right, let's talk about. Let's see if the Fortnite. I didn't bring up Fortnite. Let's see. Get a recap here. Okay. So Saturday night, right? Last weekend before school starts, my son, who lost his electronics for about a week and a half now, he's like, Dad, can we watch the Fortnite event? And I was like, sure. So we stayed up late on Saturday. It started late. It was 11:30 when it was going off here on the East Coast. So we stayed up. We went into the thing. It was cool. They had this like giant arena with a screen on it. And while you're waiting, they had seats that you could watch and whatnot. Building up to what the event was cool. Okay, was cool. You could go watch the film. They had the trailers going for the Marvel and Star Wars content with inside of Fortnite. There was a bunch of coins you collected and grabbed and all the stuff. There was like a little puzzle game that go on, a little rotating thing. It shows you the map of what the world is going to look like that we've seen before. And it was all good. And then it didn't start at 11:30. It didn't start at 11:45. It didn't start at midnight. It started at like 12:15. Okay? And then when they did the announcement, it was just, you know, showing D23 live for that moment or whatever it was. And they did some announcements. Okay? And I thought it was going to be the announcements that were going to be really, really big. Okay? So the first announcement they did was that they were going to have villains come into Fortnite. So they announced the villains. So they're going to have Cruella de Vil, Maleficent, and Captain Hook come to Fortnite. Okay? The next person up was the person that did Inside Out 1 and 2. It's the #1 movie for Pixar ever. And they came out and said that they're bringing in Frozone, Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible. So that was the second announcement they were doing. The third announcement, they're having a Star Wars bringing the Force to Fortnite. There's, I think, 2 things. They're bringing a new skin for one of the robots. I forget what the robot was. And they're also bringing a backpack for Grogu that you can be in, okay? And then they announce Chapter 5, Season 4 with Doctor Doom, okay? Doctor Doom's coming in. You're going to have Gwenpool, Captain Jonesy, Mysterio, Shuri, War Machine, Emma Frost. So these are all the different skins that you're getting inside. So they're having another Marvel event that happens. And then it was done. They just abruptly closed it down. 1.2 million people watched it within Fortnite. 1.2 million people were watching this inside of Fortnite itself. So I think it was very successful for them, whatever they wanted to do. But then my 9-year-old son was like, and this is not me, I stayed quiet. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You got all these stuff. He goes, that's it? He goes, where's the island? Where's the stuff? He's like, why did they do this? He's like, why couldn't they just do this in a regular announcement for Fortnite? Okay, so he was a little confused why they had this big hoopla of, yeah, watch D23, because we thought, I don't know if you guys thought, we thought they were going to tell some sort of information about the island, about their future of like what Fortnite and Disney were going to do. And I feel a little gypped personally. I didn't say it to my son, and my son's at school now, so he can't hear me, okay? But I feel a little duped. I think they duped everybody, because inside the arena, if you went up on the little fan, it would shoot you up to the top. There was like a platform, and on top of that platform, there was a big like board, and on that board you could flip it, and it would show you this picture. Hold on, let me get the picture, okay? It showed you this picture, right? You could flip it, and it would show you this picture. And I'm thinking to myself, this is it. They're gonna say something, anything about what they're doing with this, okay? And then they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. All they did was just introduce Disney characters, which is an announcement. It is an announcement, but I thought it was very strange that you would hype it up inside Fortnite saying, watch D23, it's Disney, D23, big announcement. They have this picture up on the wall, okay? And yet, they didn't do anything. So, I think that they thought, that we knew that they thought that we were going to watch this because of this. But then they didn't do that. And it was a big waste of time. It was. It was a big waste of time. Not as much of a waste of time as that Destiny event that happened way back when we just stood there and watched the fucking, you know, the Traveler. Okay, we just watched the Traveler. Like, yeah, that's a waste of time. Okay, but this is bad. This is bad, but bad, I guess, for 46-year-old me. That's like, yeah, this is bad because they duped us. They duped us. Okay, because obviously they could have just tweeted out and said, oh, look, there's Disney characters coming in. But millions of people stayed up late to watch this thinking, oh, they're going to say something, and they didn't say anything. So it's a little letdown, but exciting for Fortnite fans for all the new stuff coming in. And the season starts, I think, this week, the 16th, right? The 16th for the new season for Fortnite. Mo says their events are top tier. That sounds like a joke. Yeah, no, it was nothing. Nothing happened. Right? So much so, my son's still upset because he's like, they said if we were there for 10 minutes, we would get something. He hasn't gotten it yet. So that's another problem. Right? That's another problem. Did you hear that 1.2 million people were watching it, right? Yeah, no, yeah, it was crazy. Jason says technically it didn't say anything yet. It was all leaked last year. What was last? No. This wasn't leaked. The leaked for the map was officially released by Disney when they signed the $1.5 million deal with Fortnite. That was the news that we knew. That's the only thing we knew. We know nothing about it except for this picture. And this was officially released by Disney when they announced the $1.5 million deal with Fortnite. That's it. Nothing was released. East Vandal says, your son was disappointed from a gaming company. What a cute bonding experience. Yeah. He was a little upset. He was like, because he stayed up late for it. Right? My son, who goes to bed at like 9 o'clock, he was so excited. He was like, I get to stay up till 11:30. He's like, I get to hang out with dad and get to bond over something gaming wise. He's letting me stay up. And then he was disappointed. And I tried to stay as positive as possible. I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, you get the, he's like, yeah. He's like, but I wanted to know what was going on. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Dolphin says, what do you think about the new Star Wars show they announced? Are you talking about the Skeleton Crew? Dolphin? I knew nothing of the Skeleton Crew, and then when they showed the trailer, 1,000% it's Star Wars Goonies. 1,000% Star Wars Goonies. And I'll be honest, as a 46-year-old man that's a Star Wars fan, I look at it, and when I watched the trailer, I was like, this could be cool for my son, right? Like, I love movies like that. When I was a kid and watched a movie like that, it's a show, though, not a movie. That show seems very interesting for my son. For me, not so much. Waterbear says, we got the Avengers experience at the early age. Now you'll learn the lower your gaming expectations much earlier than us. Ain't that true? Ain't that true? Dolphin says, you should have told him Disney will continue to disappoint you all your life. I can't say that. We live by Disney, and we go there quite often. Do you understand how hard it is when we go to? He was really excited about the because they're doing the Millennium Falcon ride, but they're adding a Mando like experience, like where it like changes the ride itself, where like Mando's going to be in it. He was very excited. So when I first went to that Star Wars land, the Galaxy's Edge, I was infuriated. I was like, this is not Star Wars. This is not my Star Wars. I was upset. But then Chewbacca came and when my kid was like 4, I think he was, and he interacted with my son, and my son, he hated all characters. He cried and screamed. He saw Goofy or Mickey or any of the other stuff. He hated it. Chewbacca, 6'7" dude, comes up to him, okay, and starts to interact with him, and my son was not scared, and he absolutely loved him, okay, and he loves that section, and that kills me inside because that is not my Star Wars, but at the same time, I was like super ecstatic because it broke ground for my son to not be afraid of the characters, and he's had a liking for Star Wars since then. So it's not Star Wars for me. I still have my Star Wars, but I hate that land. It doesn't represent Star Wars to me at all. Travis says, Might not be your Star Wars, but it's not anyone's Star Wars. That's not true. It's the kids' Star Wars now. Eclipse says, I heard that they're doing a villain thing there. A big Disney World person, so I don't know what it's all about. They are building a new land inside of Magic Kingdom. It's going to be a villain section. And they're also building another new land, and it's going to be, or new attraction. It's going to be cars. It's going to be there as well. They added a bunch of stuff, but we'll see, because a lot of stuff they announced, they also cancel out. Because 4 years ago, they announced a bunch of stuff, and that stuff never even got built. Is that in California or Florida? It's in Florida. In California, they're expanding the Avengers campus. They're adding 2 new rides. They're adding a Stark Industries ride, and they're adding a Quinjet, I think, ride, if I'm not mistaken. They're adding a bunch of stuff. They're adding a whole new Avatar land over in California Adventure. There's a bunch of stuff they're adding over in California. Over here, they're adding the villain thing because they have to compete with Universal. Universal's building a monsters area, like a Dracula, werewolf, Frankenstein, like all that old classic villains. So they're building a villain one now over here for Disney. I personally like Universal better because I like thrill rides, Dolphin. But we haven't been since my son's born. Last time I went was like 2018 by myself. I went with Sarge and a bunch of friends. But I like Universal, so we're waiting for my son to get a little older before we get annual passes for Universal. He's just not quite ready to go on those big coasters. Hashtag not my Star Wars. That's right. That's right, Water. Disney's better known. Universal's better park. Well, Universal was a shitty park. It used to be really bad, Travis. It was run down. Like, the old Universal part was really run down. A lot of the rides were broke. They didn't take care of the stuff. It was, like, just dirty inside the park. And they've completely done a 180 with that. Complete 180. It's very good now. The Islands of Adventure is a fantastic park. The new one they're building, Epic Universe, is going to be amazing. And then they cleaned up Universal. There's a lot of stuff over there now. Disney was thinking about building a 5th park, and they were going to make it all villains. But they decided just to make a new section. They have a lot more land out there. Ron Slusher. Oh, where is it? Ron Slusher says a Xbox theme park sounds cool. It'd be included with Game Pass. That's right. It would just be included with Game Pass. Roadkill says I think the last time I went to Universal or something, Survive Kumba. It was like the highest inverted roller coaster. Oh, yeah. That's at Busch Gardens, I think. Roadkill. I don't think that's a... Oh, no, wait a minute. That's at SeaWorld. Hold on a second. I don't think that's at Yeah, that's Kumba. That's Kumba. And that's at Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens has got a bunch of good coasters. All right, let's talk about... Let's move on to the interview with Force Gaming, talking about the Dune Awakenings. Get an interview. Let me make sure I have the volume up with this guy. We like watching Force Gaming here. Get an interview with the Dune MMO developers for Dune Awakening. I can't get a good picture of him. There we go. We'll just put that there. I hate when you pause someone, they're like... So yeah, we're going to watch the Dune Awakening. If you guys like what we do here, we watch videos, go over news stories, have conversations, give you my thoughts, go back and forth with you guys in chat. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you'd like to go above and beyond that. Become a member as little as $5. So here we go.
Sandbox MMO, and I did my best to ask questions about some of the things that I've been most curious about for the game, including the general gameplay loop, like how those starting hours look and where you go from there, what types of PvE activities and points of interest we can expect to see, how PvP is going to work, both the small and large scale, what dungeons look like, the crafting and base building, and a few other things. It was about a 45-minute chat in total, and I'm going to condense that down, cutting all of the filler and the fluff. So here is what new things I've learned about Dune Awakening. My first question was, what are the opening hours like for players? Like, what sort of stuff can we expect to see and do in those first, say, 3 to 5 hours? He told me that after character creation, there's a sequence where your ship gets shot down, you crash on the planet, and wake up inside of a cave. And then, quote, it's like a single player, maybe 10-minute tutorial section where we teach you the basics. You'll do a little crafting, you'll learn how to hydrate because that's important in Dune. You'll chat with a character and learn about the dialogue system, and then a bit of combat and a little bit of harvesting, and that is essentially it. After that, he said you leave the instance tutorial area flying into a sandstorm, which results in you crashing once again, but now you find yourself in the Haga Basin, which is the...
So wait a minute. Start the game by crashing into the desert. You do the tutorial for 10 minutes, and then you leave and crash again. And your luck is really shitty.
The first major open world multiplayer portion of the game. So I asked if there's a particular area that players will arrive when first entering Haga Basin. He said, you can think about it a bit like Conan Exiles. There's multiple start points in the bottom of the map. There's, I think, 40 different places that you can spawn, and then you funnel and move upwards through the map from there. He then expanded upon what...
All right, hold on a second. You can think about it a bit as Conan Exiles. There's multiple start points in the bottom part of the map. There's, I think, 40 different places you can spawn. Then you can funnel and move upwards towards the map from there, right? So, like, the starting area. So there's a lot of different starting areas to start
points in the bottom of the map. There's, I think, 40 different places that you can spawn, and then you funnel and move upwards through the map from there. He then expanded upon what players will be doing in those first few hours. You'll be learning about water, learning about harvesting, and then building. You build your first rudimentary base, and then, because of the worm, you can't really move out from that starting region too quickly. There's too much of a distance. If you try to run across the sand, you'll get eaten by the sandworm, so your first kind of major task is to build a vehicle. At which point he said that you'll be exploring this starting section of Haga Basin, searching through dungeons, ruins, and crashed shipwrecks, looking for the resources and schematics needed.
So it feels like No Man's Sky at that point, right? No Man's Sky, you start off on any starting planet and you move your way deeper into the universe, right? Where your ship has crash landed and you have to fix it. So you have to run around and try to find resources and whatnot, and then you'll move on. That's what it sounds like here, because you have to build your first vehicle to get across stuff, so.
For you to build your first bike, which basically makes this section a bit of like soft progression locking, where you have to complete this task before you have the tools needed in order to move forward and progress into the next area. Although he did clarify that this is only really going to be the case right at release, or if you play entirely solo, because later on, anyone can technically come and pick you up in their vehicle that you can use to cross the sands without having to first build your own bike. So for people jumping into the game, say a few days post-release, if you have friends that are playing, they can literally just come and pick you right up straight away after you finish the tutorial section. You can go across the sands and then move into the rest of Haga Basin. So my next question was about how much time we...
I guess that's cool. Right? So I played a couple days. You know, Travis or Eclipse comes into the game after the fact. I can pick you up the tutorial because I already have the vehicle, so you kind of like skip that step, even though not really, because you have to do that step so you can get yourself a vehicle.
We can expect to be spending in this Haga Basin region. Because as we know, Dune Awakening is going to be divvied up into these multiple sections, which as of now, we know there is Haga Basin, and then the Deep Desert, and then the shared social hub towns. And with this question, I was really mainly curious about how much content we can expect in this region. So he said, based on what they've seen through their playtest thus far, it's roughly about 50 to 60 hours worth of content before most players leave. It's as big as Conan Exiles, he said. Haga Basin is
Not bad. 50 to 60 hours. That's not bad.
as big as Conan Exiles. The thing that you need in order to leave is to craft your first flying vehicle, the Ornithopter. That's really what you need to get out of Haga Basin, and getting that is a journey in itself. There are multiple regions and biomes in the Haga Basin. It is quite a big area. It is as big as our other game. And just to clarify here, in the prior answer and with this one, he is talking about two different things. Your first soft progression gate is the crafting of a bike to leave the southern region of Haga Basin, which is basically the starting zone outside of the tutorial. And then beyond that, there is much more Haga Basin, all of these different biomes, places to see, and in those areas is where you're going to be spending that some 50.
Now I have a question. I know obviously he might say it in the video, but is that early on stage, there's no PvP? So like there's 50, 60 hours of content with no PvP? Or because once you get that copter, that's when you get to leave and go to the next region. So it's sort of like getting your mount. It's almost like getting your mount in Diablo. You got to get to chapter 3.
To 60 hours of game time, leveling, crafting, building, and just progressing your way towards the construction of your flying Ornithopter. And then with that, you can leave finally the Haga Basin region and move into what is essentially the end game in Dune Awakening, which is the Deep Desert. He also made a note here that once.
So again, we'll listen to him all the way through, but it sounds like the Deep Desert is the area where you'll have the PvP battles and whatnot.
You get to this point where you've crafted your Ornithopter, it is just like a straight up flying mount that you would expect to see in any MMO. Once you have it, you can fly over much of the environment, pretty much everything, and that really changes how you approach the world. In fact, talking about this, he said, I always knew that scales of traversal would be a thing. So you start off on foot, where it feels much more intimate, then you move to the bike, suddenly things become faster, more accessible, but then when you get the flying mount, everything changes. Harvesting becomes a matter of just flying to the right spots and picking things up. Every time you get one of these vehicle upgrades, it changes your perception of the world. Suddenly, things open up. And I think his point in this comment was that they're looking to sort of draw out that experience a little bit. So you're not jumping into having a flying mount immediately and as such skipping over much of the content and the world traversal and exploration. They don't want that to happen too soon in the experience. You will have to go through these many hours of progression as you move your way through Haga Basin before you can eventually make that Ornithopter and use that flying mount. Now after that, I asked him what sort of points of interest we can expect to see. This was a big curiosity of mine, like what types of PvE and PvE areas and activities are we going to see? What is there going to be to do beyond walking through the desert?
Water says they better add a worm riding ability, damn it. Maybe. Just like in New World, there was no mounts, but now there is mounts, so maybe a year or two down the road, maybe they do it. Jason says this will be another flavor of the week game and die quick. I think for the masses it might, Jason, but I think it'll find its player base just like Ark did, just like what was the other one? There was Ark, there was Conan, there was one more. There was like another game that's like that. But they always find their niche market, right? They always find the people that like that game, because if someone, let's say, is playing Conan, they like the survival, but they don't really like Conan, okay, but then all of a sudden they're fans of Dune, then they'll come over and play Dune, and that's their favorite game now.
Collecting resources. So he said we have these things called shipwrecks. They are these small self-contained PvP spaces, salvage areas that are considered free-for-all, where any player can attack each other. He said that as you approach a wreck, you will pass a threshold and then get a pop-up message that says this is a War of Assassins PvP area. Now, why are you going to those shipwrecks? Well, because they're going to have some valuable resources that you want. But beyond that, he also said we have natural world structures. We have this giant hammer of a rock called Mizrabar. It's a sacred place to the Fremen. Underneath that are different NPC outposts, different factions in the game world that have different outposts in these different areas. There's a giant chasm in the world called the Haga Rift. As you go down into it, it gets deeper and darker, and at this point, all of a sudden, you have to think about the lighting systems down there as opposed to up top. There's an area of the world where things have crashed and created a giant radiation zone, so you're going to need to be properly prepared survival-wise with the right gear to go into that area. So yeah, there's a lot of different biomes and spaces in the world. Now, at that point, I asked him for a bit more detail about these enemy camps. I was curious, is it what I expect? Are these just going to be like different compounds and installments that are full of enemies? We go in, we clear them, and we collect loot, to which he said, yes. As an example, he said that you're going to need fuel to power your shields and your bases. So you need to go run these outposts to get the fuel to keep your bases and vehicles up and running. The enemy camps actually serve the different factions, so they will.
So that's gonna be the bottleneck. The bottleneck is gonna be the fuel for your bases and shields.
Each have their own unique individual look. He did say that you're going to go to the different camps to get resources that are unique to them, along with collecting the cosmetic unlocks of each of the factions. But that's not all. There's also progression unlocks that are found here. You're also going to get these things called intel points, which are what you spend in the tech tree to learn new schematics. You get these as you level up, but you can also...
Real quick, I want to go back. A map, inventory, crafting, technology, skills, journey, social, permission, communicate.
You spend in the tech tree to learn new schematics. You get these as you level up, but you can also get more of them by clearing these enemy camps. Now, I asked him about biome variety, surprisingly enough, right? Like, yes, this is Dune, so there's mostly going to be sand everywhere, but I did get the sense in some of their early previews that they were using locations such as the Echo Labs to add a bit of visual variety to the world, and he pretty much concurred that that was the case. He said, yeah, the Echo Labs have this lush feeling in some of them. They're actually quite different. Some of them are like mining ecology labs where you go down and they're using mining equipment to dig deeper down into the earth, and it's a different feel to the ones that are like this was a botany lab. But that's not all. He did say as well that in the world itself they have areas where we have a backstory, like this area was built on top of an ecology lab, and the water systems from the Echo Lab have been running here for 10,000 years. They're sort of leaking a bit into the environment, so this part of the planet is actually slightly greener than you might expect. Now, I'm actually happy to hear that they're taking a few liberties here. It's not going to be 100% sand 100% of the places. They're going to mix it up a bit. Although he did at the end point out by saying, like, yes, at the end of the day, if you...
Oh, for sure, Jason. For sure. Right? Jason says, or they want to make a game to cash in on the Dune hype on the movies they're generating. Dune Part 3 comes out, I think, in 2026, right? So if this comes out, it's sandwiched between Dune Part 2 and Dune Part 3. Just like Witcher, just like Fallout, just like any of those games that even Borderlands, for the shitty movie that's out, is getting a little bit of uptick for the Borderlands games for the interest, right? So 100%, they're picking this because of the movies coming out or marketing.
If you hate deserts, then I don't think this game is going to be for you, which of course it makes sense. It is Dune. It is going to be mostly desert. Honestly, it kind of feels like no matter what they did here in terms of adding biome variety or not adding it, they would be dealing with some complaints, right? Although he did add that in the Dune universe itself, it does allow for some of this already. He said, there are things on the planet that we'll do in the future, in future updates, like they have the polar caps. There are ice caps in Dune. It is mentioned in the books. It's part of the lore. They have a tundra area. They have this line that the worms can't cross because it's too much moisture, but we wanted to capture the central Dune fantasy first before we started working on those other areas. Pretty much like lightly confirms like, hey, there's gonna be the snow expansion update as we move into the tundra and the like polar ice cap areas, right? That probably a safe bet that might happen in the future if they continue supporting this game, right?
Sure.
We're just throwing that out there. Now, my next question was about endgame. I asked him if they have anything that we would consider endgame, things like group-focused PvE activities. Here's the answer that I got. He said it's going to depend whether it's a PvP activity or not. So the Deep Desert has the big spice blows, and it's really a PvE activity to harvest spice. So you want to have a coordinated group. Wait
a minute. You want to have a coordinated group. You want to fly in transparent. Okay, carrying a sand crawler. You want to scout. You want people riding a point with the sand bikes to be dumping out humpers to keep the sandworm away from you. Oh, so it's it's going to be really hard for you to be playing by yourself at this point, right? He says it's going to be a deep weather and PvP activity. So it's the deep desert has big spice blows, and it really is a PvE activity to harvest spice, but you're going to fight other people as well. If you're by yourself, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. Okay, if you're by yourself, this is going to be really hard for you. I'm not going to say it's impossible, okay? But it's going to be really hard because he just says you want to be having, by flying or transport by the copter, carrying a sand crawler, and you want scouts. You want people riding on the point because you can't fly the thing and then do the thing and do the thumpers and do all the stuff by yourself. You need a group. So this is definitely end game stuff.
Really a PvE activity to harvest spice. So you want to have a coordinated group, you want to be flying a transport ornithopter, carrying a sand crawler, you want scouts, you want people riding point with sand bikes to be dumping out thumpers to keep the sandworm away from you. We do actually really talk about...
Now, I'll be honest, with a group that you're with, this sounds pretty cool because you all have to work together. Like, you need people to do the dumpers to keep the worms away, you need people to come in and bring the machinery in to scout the stuff. So it does sound like a really cool activity with a group of friends. Sounds like an absolute misery fest if you're by yourself.
About it in terms of raids. He was talking about how the internal team discusses harvesting spice. He said that they say, these are the raids in our game. The boss is the sandworm, except instead of fighting it, you're trying to keep them away. While you're keeping them away, you're also harvesting spice out in the desert, and so that's the kind of coordinated PvE activity. The thing is, though, that this area is a PvP zone, so another guild can show up, and then you have to make those kind of decisions. Are we staying here to defend our harvesting area, or are we moving somewhere else? The activity itself...
So basically the game turns into Sea of Thieves, but it's now called Sea of Sands. Okay? Now, I want to know what happens if you kill the other group that's there. How far away? Can they get back to you really fast? Can you just claim it without fighting them? Or is it going to be the scenario of I kill Eclipse's group, and now Eclipse can't come back to that section, or can they just constantly keep coming back? Because that sounds not fun at all.
Though is designed as PvE, but the fact that you're in a zone where that threat can happen means that it can also quickly turn into PvP. So I followed up by asking if they would have any of what I would consider more traditional group-focused PvE content. Like, are they going to have any large-scale, elaborate enemy compounds, for example, with things like a traditional, hey, here's a very large, heavily armored boss of sorts at the end. You go in, you clear it for loot, stuff like that. His response was, there will be some of that stuff post-launch. It's not part of the main plan for launch, just because we wanted to focus on getting the deep desert right, having the recurring cycles and all of that. There is a plan, however, to ship some of that stuff post-launch. That is definitely down the alley, like you raid a base to turn off anti-aircraft missiles to gain access to certain resources.
Rogue, the way they described it earlier, I don't know if you listened to the video the entire time we've heard it so far, it sounds like the deep desert is the PvP aspect of it. It sounds like that you can play about 50 to 60 hours of this game solo. Like, you can play this game without PvP. You can just do PvE until you go to the deep desert aspect of the stuff. That's where the PvP content takes place.
Sources that you need. That's something in the plans for the future that's concretely on the table. So if it wasn't already clear beyond the survival crafting elements of the game, yes, like there will be PvE activities in things like the enemy camps and going into the Echo Labs. But the main driving factor in this game, especially come the end game and the deep desert, it's that PvP conflict. So I did have a few questions about PvP.
That's going to get old pretty fast if that's the only thing. I'll be honest. If that's the only thing, if the only thing is the point of I need this fuel and stuff and materials, whatever it is, to then upgrade my stuff, but I'm with a random group or my guild just is not as good as the other ones, you're going to push people out real fast. Why? Because if there's always conflict there, one's always going to get something and the other's going to get absolutely nothing. So what's going to happen is there's going to be, again, I'll go back to Sea of Thieves. In Sea of Thieves, there's always a better crew than everybody else. And they can just steamroll everybody, okay? So respecting players' time. If you're an endgame in this game, what it sounds like, and you've played for at this point 70, 80, 100 hours. Okay. You've been respected your time up until this point. Now you're 100 hours in the game and you're like, okay, I want to make a bigger base. We have to get the shields. We have to get the fuel. We can't do it unless we go get these things. Okay, now you have a coordinated attack. It feels awesome. It feels great. Nobody attacks you the first time. You beat the boss, the raid boss, which is the worm. You get the materials. You go back to your base. But then more people start to get to the end game point. Okay, more people start getting to the end game point. And now there's guilds going in. And then there's going to be a part where you don't get the materials. So now you're putting, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours into trying to get this because there's a battle going on. You're trying to get the materials and you don't get anything. That's going to be pretty shitty. And you're going to have a big drop off at that point.
I asked about that PvE scenario that he mentioned. Okay, so your guild is out in the deep desert, you're harvesting spice together, and then all of a sudden it turns into PvP when another guild shows up. So then my follow-up question was, so another guild shows up, what is that process like? And can 6 other guilds show up? His answer was yes. The desert is fully open PvP.
Oh boy, this is going to be really bad.
However many players decide to go to a single location, that is the number of players that you're going to see. However, he did add, you might hit a technical cap. It depends on our server optimization for launch, just to be clear. So I don't know how many players are going to be per server. Like, we gave some numbers, like we'll have a minimum of 40 people in the Haga Basin. We should have more than that in the deep desert per server instance. And the server instances are chained together, sort of like server meshing that you've seen a lot of games talking about lately. The deep desert, though, is one seamless set of servers chained together, which means it supports a lot more players. If 6 guilds show up and they're 100 players each, I'm not sure we can support 600 people in one.
Jesus, that would be pretty impressive if there could be a 600-person fight battle going on in the middle of the desert.
1 square kilometer, that might not work. So with him saying that, I responded by asking, how would this be surfaced to players, right? So if like 6 guilds all showed up at a single area to fight over the spice blow, do some portion of them get instanced out of that area? Are they going to be phased and not see each other? But his answer was interesting. He said no. What will likely happen is as we grow closer to a soft cap, there will be some natural things that occur. For example, sandstorms will come in to drive players away from the area. However, if people insist we're just going to throw up a hard barrier, we have this lore police force in place that can drop hard barriers around specific areas. So basically, this is pretty much what's going to happen whenever Asmongold decides to go anywhere in the deep desert. They're probably going to be having these police forces dropping these barriers to cordon people off, right? What's interesting here, though, is learning that they actually do intend for the deep desert to be fully open, uninstanced, and no phasing. They're using this server meshing technology to make it so that if you and 100 other people all decide to go to a single area, this say 1 spice blow or 1 enemy base that's out in the desert, you should all see each other at that area at the same time.
Yeah, James, we did the Tango talk earlier. It was the first thing about like 5-6 minutes in.
Up until they hit this server issues with player caps within that square kilometer region, and at that point they're going to start throwing in sandstorms to force people out, or if that doesn't work, dropping those police barriers if things get even crazier. But there is no phasing. There are no 100 different instances of one particular area. If you and 100 or 200 people all want to go to one spot and stand on 1 grain of sand, you'll be able to do it up until the server threshold issues, and then they're going to do things to mitigate that. But there's no phasing. There's not going to.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch when people like Asmongold or any other big streamer go on, and then everyone else downloads the game.
I'm standing on this grain of sand, and my friend is standing on that grain of sand, but we don't see each other because we're in different phases. That is not something they're going to do, which is really, really interesting. I'm really interested to see how this plays out, and if it isn't just a total laggy mess, right? He added as well, though, that the deep desert is quite massive. He said it's like 9 times the size of Haga Basin, which, mind you, he said Haga Basin was larger than their other game, Conan Exiles, and that's a pretty big game.
Wait a minute, so the Haga Basin's bigger than Conan's, and then the deep desert is 9 times bigger than that. Jesus.
It is huge. That's the other side of it. It's what you see in the movies. It's a big expanse of sand and only a few rock islands. There's definitely meeting points on those islands, but it is 15 minutes to fly across. It takes quite a while to get from one end to another. But back to the PvE and PvP discussion, he continued, the point is that if you're a smaller guild and you don't want to fight people for spice, you can still be out there doing that PvE harvesting and sort of just run away. The idea is that the space works to the advantage of the players, and it also means that people who don't really like PvP, which he said is a lot of people, and he's well aware of that, it means that if you feel like it, you can dip your toe into this activity and be on your ornithopter and fly away. If you see 6 guilds coming towards you, you'll be able to get away. You'll have those sight lines.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. You will until you don't, right? How are you going to harvest stuff? If you're by yourself, it's going to be, and all of a sudden 2 separate groups, 3 separate groups happen to see you. They don't know what part of the team you're on, so you're going down.
He then added that they really want to avoid the typical issue that open world PvP survival games have. He said, in survival games, what I see with PvP, just take Conan Exiles for example, is it's never 10 versus 10. It's always like 8 versus 1.
Right. This is exactly my example I just did. Exactly my example.
Or like 30 people come over a hill and there's 5 guys harvesting alone, and then those 30 people just charge and they have a great time, but the 5 people don't. It's like I'm psychic. This is exactly what I was talking about. How was he going to answer this? Trying to make it so that the 5 people feel like it's worth their time to get out of there. If they want to, they can just pick up and get away if necessary. But yes, when it comes to the deep desert, it is just...
Well, hold on a second. 5 guys harvesting and 30 people just charge, and they have a great time, but the 5 people don't, and we try to make it so 5 people feel like it's worth their time. Feel like it's worth their time. It needs to be worth their time, not feel like it's worth their time. It has to be worth their time. Okay? Because if they don't, if I'm in there for 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden a murder wave comes over the hill, they happen to see me, they start chasing me, then there needs to be something for me where if I die, I don't lose my stuff, right? There's got to be something in place where it doesn't feel like I'm wasting my time in this game.
Or like 30 people come over a hill and there's 5 guys harvesting alone, and then those 30 people just charge and they have a great time, but the 5 people don't. We're trying to make it so that the 5 people feel like it's worth their time to get out of there. If they want to, they can just pick up and get away if necessary. But yes, when it comes to the deep desert, it is just full-on PvP 100% of the time. It's gonna turn into Zergfest, but they're gonna have systems in place to try to mitigate too many people being too...
They're gonna change it. They're going to change it. In some way, shape, or form, they're going to change it.
Overwhelming on the servers in one particular location using that server meshing technology that they have. But yeah, it is the case that, like, if you're trying to harvest spice and 6, 7, 8 other guilds show up to push you out of there, they'll be able to push you out of
there. Right, Argus? That's what he said. Your options are to get the fuck out of there, right? If you have 5 people in your small guild and 30 people come over the hill, or 3 guilds come over the thing and they start chasing you, it's just get out of there if you want.
There, you could choose to say, but it's probably not going to go too well for you. And there are things like vehicle destruction. There isn't full corpse looting, but there is things like resource loss. So all of this stuff you're...
Oh, wait, I missed it. What did he say?
You could choose to say, but it's probably not going to go too well for you. And there are things like vehicle destruction. There isn't full...
Oh, God. Vehicle destruction. Okay, so now my vehicle gets destroyed. Do I have to get the materials now to repair my vehicle? Or does it, once it's blown up, then it just automatically comes back and it's one piece again, right? Does it keep me with the grind like No Man's Sky, where if my ship gets damaged, I have to get the fuel, or I have to get the parts to fix the weapons and fix the stuff? This sounds fantastic on paper. This sounds logistically like a nightmare for people that are playing the game if you're a person that doesn't like PvP.
Corpse looting, but there is things like resource loss. So All of this stuff you're going to have to keep in consideration. Now, a lot of that was really focused on the PvP in the deep desert, but there is also limited PvP that will be happening in the Haga Basin as well. He said it's primarily happening around the crash ships that were mentioned earlier. So the way this will work is you will see ships falling from the sky. It'll happen in real time, and then players will run to those areas because there are valuable resources to collect. However, within that proximity around the ship in that immediate area, it is full on PvP.
So here's a solution that they have to do. Because if there's only one ship, and let's say it happens every 10 minutes, a ship drops or whatever. If everyone sees that ship and it's like an announcement, like a public event, where all of a sudden you see that ship fly overhead and all the guilds around the area are like, we gotta get that stuff. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. That's gonna be a nightmare. But they're gonna try to force you. Now, if it happens where there's like 5 or 6 different things and it's random of what's in there, like every time you go to a spot, it's not the same materials, it's not the same amount of materials, it's all different, so you don't know. So you spread them out so people go, and then people choose to go instead of forcing the people to go to one thing. This is a problem that happened in Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, there was the forts. There's multiple forts in the map, but one fort would light up, and then everybody on the server would go towards that fort. So if you got there first, you're killing all the stuff, and then by the time you're killed all the stuff and then grab the loot, someone else would come up, and then you're fighting them to keep your loot. And it was this back and forth, and if you died, then they would come back, and if they died, you would come. It's like it was absolute chaos. When they started opening it up to other things, and other people went, do I want to go to this fort? Do I want to go to this thing? There's a lot of problems here, man. There's gonna be a lot of problems.
So you'll have to keep your head on the swivel if you're going in and trying to grab resources and then run away. Also, he mentioned that some select faction bases, those like enemy camps, those can be PvP flagged as well. Not all of them, but there will be a select few. Now, another interesting mechanic in this game that I was curious about are those massive storms that reset the play space, specifically the deep desert. So I asked about that. So the deep desert, he said, has the Coriolis storm that happens every week. It wipes everything, absolutely everything, and changes the landscape. So what was there last week will be different this week. The sand comes in, it wipes everything, and then there's all of a sudden a new ecology lab that you hadn't seen before, or a new shipwreck. There's also new...
That's another perfect example. Argus says, they never change PvP mandatory quickly in survival games. They only add PvE servers after the fact and actually want people to engage in PvP, so they don't make it optional at first. Here's another example. In Fallout 76, right? They have the workshops. When the game first came out, workshops were this thing that he's talking about, where the ship crash lands. The workshop is where you got materials from. They had where you could farm out the iron and gold and all the other stuff that you needed. I never go there now. I haven't touched it, okay? Because every time I would go get a workshop, it would emit and say, hey, this person's getting the workshop. Okay, and then anybody and everybody on the map, out of the 32 people that are on the map, could all come towards the workshop, and now you're fighting. They were trying to make PvP happen. It did happen early on, but the community pushed against it and said, no, we don't want to do this. So they would let people sit there, get the materials that they wanted for a bit, and then they would alternate, or they would go to a different server. We're going to find a way, but this sounds fun. But it also sounds like a goddamn nightmare for people that just want their time respected.
Islands, and they're in different places. So you need to go in, you need to reestablish your logistics and resurvey the area to figure out where things are. In the deep desert, you'll get things like items that are only there for that week, and you don't know when they're going to show up next. One specific Eagle Lab might only be there once every 2 months, and for that week, you can go there to get this schematic to craft a unique rifle, and you're the only person that can craft it because you're the only person who found that schematic at that Eagle Lab, and then
now, that's cool. That's the same thing that was happening in Star Wars Galaxies, okay? Now, if this is a PvE type of thing where people can go get it, it's sort of like what I did in Fortnite. In Fortnite, I have a gun that I can make because I have the plans for it. It only comes back around during Halloween time, and if people don't do the event and save the world, they can't get the schematic. So the only people that can make this gun are people that have the schematic. So I can give you the gun, you give me the resources, I can make a gun for you, but once it's dead, you have to find someone else to make it for you. where I can keep making the gun. Now I'm the craftsman of it. That's really cool because in Star Wars Galaxies, this is what happened. Now, it sounds like a better system because if a thing only comes around every 2 months or once every 5 months or whatever it is, the people that go and do that mission, they can now make that gun. Now, at a certain point, not everyone's going to get it, but majority of the population will get it at some point because that gun will be a OP piece of weaponry or something like that. Now, what would be really cool is if let's say they had a gun in event number 1, and then they had a stock option that you could put on to that gun, or you could have a scope. If you're a person that's crafting these things, like you're a gun craftsman, your job is to go do all these events. Someone might have one of those things. Someone might have 2 of the things. Someone might have all 3 of those things, and that person making that gun now has a reason to make that gun, and they can make money in the economy in this game because they can be a gunsmith to make those weapons, and their gun would be better than someone else's.
And once it goes away the next week, all of a sudden you could have the super rare resource that no one could get a new one of, and you could sell it on the auction house. You could craft the item and sell it. You'll have a lot of options, or you can just craft it and make it for yourself and your mates. And his mentioning of these unique schematics also had me curious about how gearing works in the game and what the focus is going to be. So I asked him if the main gear hunt is focused on the schematics that you then craft, or am I going to be also finding rifles in the desert? He said, yeah, definitely. It's definitely more about schematics. In WoW, you roll for the loot itself, right? Well, in our game, you get the schematic and then you have to craft it, but that also adds value to you in a few ways because you can then sell it in the auction house.
Right.
You don't have any sort of bind on pickup. And
I could be a rogue. I could be a wandering trader in this game if that's what I want to role play as. And then because I've done all these different things, I can supply guilds. I can supply different places. So I can wander from one person's base to another and go, hey, I can make this gun, blah, blah, blah. And then I can make money off of that, right? Like I could live inside the world because I busted my ass getting these things. And now I can actually have some sway in something politically, right? Because one guild might have a better weapon than the others because I gave it to them.
And because this is a survival crafting game, I asked if they're going to have some of what I consider the more important quality of life features in this genre. Specifically, will they have crafting from storage? Will they have auto sort? Will they have deposit similar items when moving from your inventory to chest? And he said yes to all 3 of those. Thank you so much. Now, the final thing I asked him was to basically walk us through what are considered their dungeons, what they have called their dungeons, which are these eco labs. They're going to be scattered all around the environment. They're going to have like different settings and themings and locations. And he made it clear to me when talking about this that it isn't like a traditional MMO dungeon, like these 5 players instance things with really challenging boss fights with tons of different phases at the end, but rather it's much more akin to like a Bethesda dungeon. Think sort of along the lines of Fallout or Skyrim or even Starfield. These will be instance locations with set themings and backstories that you discover as you explore them. So you'll be going through these corridors, you'll come across small groups of enemies, but more so there will be flavor text and lore bits like leftover audio logs or something that you'll interact with and will tell you a bit of story about the area. And then as you progress, you find more audio logs, you find more clues about what happened in this region, why it's abandoned, what was going on here. And eventually you might have a boss at the end, but it's going to be, instead of like a normal enemy that might take like 5 seconds to take out, it might take like 15 seconds to take out the more souped up version at the end. But yeah, the way he was describing it about exploring and uncovering lore about that particular area and its history and its previous inhabitants or what they were doing there.
Those dungeons sound fine the first time you play it, but if you have to go back and it's like 3 seconds, now we're talking about like the first Descendant. You go in, you just kill a guy real fast and move on. You don't really care.
You discover more and more as you progress. It really, as he was sharing it with me, it reminded me so much of like going through a cavern in Skyrim or a location in a Fallout game or in Starfield. It sounded very, very reminiscent of it. In fact, he said himself as they're developing it, something like Fallout's vaults is sort of what they had in their mind, and it sounded actually pretty neat. Now, I would love more traditional like group-focused dungeons with hard bosses and things like that for the loot hunt, but I think these Echo Labs that they have in the game also sound interesting interesting for what they are. And again, I really think ultimately it's important to keep in mind, it's pretty clear this is first and foremost a survival crafting building game and exploration with a big focus on PvP at the end and some PvE, but the PvE group stuff, the things like raids or the group instance dungeons, that's not really a main focus, at least not as of yet. Maybe that changes a bit in the future. But that just about does it for my interview with Joel. All in all, I thought it was a productive chat. I learned a lot of new things about the game, and I have now a much better picture of what it's going to be like to play. Unfortunately, he didn't give me any insider tips as to when we can playtest the game, so I'm just going to continue hoping it's sometime soon.
I think they'll announce something at either Gamescom or they'll announce something at the Video Game Awards show. So we'll see.
Do know that they are doing testing right now currently, but it's like strictly NDA, really small scale. I think you can register for a chance to be invited. But in terms of like larger stuff like open beta weekends, I have no idea. I would love to get my hands on the game like this fall or winter or something, but we will see. I'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, I mean, I think Dune Awakening is sounding pretty good. I hope it turns out well. As a fan of survival crafting games, I like PvP, I like open world stuff. Really interested to see how this turns out. Sounds good. Looking forward to seeing a lot more raw actual gameplay, which I do believe they intend on showing later this month actually at Gamescom, so stay tuned for that. But that is it for today. Thank you as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, so there's Force Gaming. I like watching his stuff. Make sure you go check out his video. His link in the description down below. I like watching his stuff. All right. The game sounds interesting. It does sound interesting, but at the same time, it also sounds like it could be an absolute nightmare. Okay, so the end game is PvP. If you're a single solo player, you can play, again, I'm assuming 50 to 60 hours. Once you get to the end game, that is the PvP section, right? By that time, you'll have so much time. If you like it, you'll have more time in the game, and you'll be like, I'm okay with it. But there's always going to be, happen in New World, happens in Fallout, happens in MMOs. Doesn't matter what game you're doing. If there's a guild, there's always a guild that always takes over everybody else, or you're always going to get devastated. And your only options are, I don't want to play anymore, or join that guild, right? And most of the time, you can't join the guild because the guild's already filled. Okay. Argus says, Ark Survival Evolve had a PvP mandatory servers back when. Used to play an obsessed amount of it. They always had an alpha tribe in control of every server. That always happens. That always happens. Right, there you go. There he goes. And he says, luckily, I was blessed enough to be a part of the alpha tribes, and almost every server joined, so everything is bullying all the other peasants' tribes. But that's how it happens. All the time. All the time. Nate says, hey, 30, I'm going to help a friend move. I'll be on tonight. Pay my bet, 25 for the 5 memberships. Nate, no rush. No rush. It was a friendly bet. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. If you aren't playing with the boys, I expect your experience to suck. Yes. Yeah. It's not going to be a good experience. Again, on paper, when you make a game, you're like, oh yeah, it'd be awesome. Right? Sea of Thieves is like, yeah, we'll have this fort, and everyone will go to the fort, and everyone will converge on the fort, and they'll have this big battle and stuff. And that sounds great, but then people's time comes into a factor, right? Time, is my time respected? If I have 10 gold chests on my boat, and then I spent 2 hours getting it, and a guy just logs into the server and destroys me because of whatever, and I lose those things, that person's pissed. Where the other person's like, this is great, right? And I get it. I get it. From a game standpoint, though, it's just not a good idea to force people to do certain things. If you want to have something for solo players where they can get stuff and it's a smaller route, a smaller scale of it, then do that. If there's another way to get those materials, then do that. I think those dungeons he was talking about where you can get the schematics of weapons sounds better than the resources for your base. I'll be honest. I would rather be a guy who creates the weapons than the person that's trying to fund his base. Argus says, it's always fun to be the strongest group, Mike. Of course it is. Yeah, it's the luck of the draw all turn, right? All turn says sounds fun until someone like Asmongold comes with 50 people and your group of your 4 trying to have fun. Well, they're having fun as well, remember? Those 50 people are having fun as well. This happens in Albion Online. I used to play Albion Online. Solo player, never part of a group. And I played hundreds of hours. Once you get into the end game areas where your gear can only go up to like level 4. If you want like a level 5 in Albion Online, you get the rare resources. You get the trees and the rocks that are only in areas that are very resourced, very high in the map, that are controlled by other regions. Okay. Now, I'm not a part of a guild in any way, shape, or form, but the murder group, the murder squad that comes through doesn't care. They see you, they're going to run, destroy you. It's like piranhas. They come, they go, brrr, and then all your shit is left there, and they're picking it apart. And by the time you run your ass back there, you've lost everything. You've lost your gear. You've lost your weapons. You've lost everything. Okay? And that is just gut-wrenching. You're just like, You're like, you know what? I'm not going back there. I'm not even going to play anymore. I am done. Brooks says, I'll probably, you're in for bigger guilds. Hey, that guy can craft the Sand Ripper, LMG, and the Worm Tooth, and Soar, etc. Right. And I think that part of the game sounds really cool, right? Like, imagine an event happens, but not everyone does the event, and there's very few people. Let's say there's 1 million people playing, but 100,000 people only have the schematics for this thing, okay? Well, 100,000 people are not always on the servers. So all of a sudden, you come across a city, a group, a thing, and you're like, talk to some people, interaction, like MMO, right? And you're like, hey, I can create this LMG that takes this out. And they're like, cool. How much, right? They give you the resources, you make the weapons for them, so on and so forth. That seems like a really cool concept inside the game. It was fantastic in Star Wars Galaxies back in the day, because if you were a craftsmanship and you made a blaster, your blaster was better than some other blaster of a rookie craftsman, right? You were a blacksmith at top level because you were making better gear for everybody else. People wanted to buy your gear for you. There was a reason for you to be there. Dolphin says, Asmongold had like 50 people following him around in the building for him in PAX DEI. It's very weird. Oh, I saw that. Where he had that whole castle up on top of the hill. Took him like 2 days to build it. There was so many people on that server. I would hate to play games like that, where your whole group is just following you and you can't even do anything. It's just like you're like a celebrity in real life, and you have bodyguards and stuff. Forget about that. Just look at Fortnite. People see you and go after you, no matter if you run away or chase them, even if it takes the entire session in the game. Exactly. And there's no reason to do that. It's just people are like, I want to shoot you. That's it. Sarge says, bro, the people with the most time find the best, beat the resources, therefore are more wealthy and leads to more powerful. They make the murder groups, and then they nerf starts. Right. All I'm saying is you have to find a balance. You have to find a balance for people. Because if it takes 60 hours to get to end game, 50 to 60 hours to get to end game, then I'm in the end game. I'm solo. You're forcing me, right? You're forcing me to go with the group. If I want to or not. If I want my better chances to survive, to get the resources I need, I have to get with a group. If I go solo, I'm pushing against the treadmill. I'm walking the opposite direction on an escalator. Okay? I could still make progress, right? If I walk a little faster, I can get up the stair, but I'm not going that far. Meanwhile, if I'm with a group, I'm going downhill on the escalator and we're just murdering everybody and get what we want. It doesn't, like I said, it sounds great on paper. Doesn't sound good. Does not sound good when you're actually a person playing the game. All right. So now we're going to talk about Borderlands. Borderlands came out this weekend, or did it? Nobody knows because nobody's seen it. Okay. Now we're going to talk about Borderlands. There's a couple of stories that we have here. I'll talk about Borderlands. Just to tell you what Borderlands has done. Borderlands this weekend has made a whopping grand total of $8.8 million. $8.8 million. Just to put it in perspective, it made $4 million on Friday, and that number is also for Thursday, by the way. That's a Thursday-Friday number. Okay. So technically it made, maybe 1.7 on Thursday night, and then maybe 2.3 on Friday. Okay. So 4 million on Friday, 2.7 on Saturday, and 2 million on Sunday. These are abysmal numbers. Okay. Abysmal. Just to put it in perspective, someone brought it up earlier, right? Here, let's look up let me go back to Madam Web real fast. Okay, so when Madam Web came out, it only made 43 million domestically. It made 100 million worldwide. Obviously, it didn't make its money back. It's an absolute flop. It made 15 million in its domestic opening, okay, in the opening weekend. Just to put it in perspective, though, it made 6 million on its Wednesday, 4 million on its Friday. Let's just go with the Saturday. Saturday at 6 million. If we go to the next Saturday, it made 2 million. Okay. So if you can imagine now where Borderlands made 4 million, it'll probably make 1.2 million, less than a million, 800,000 for the next one. Now, add that up. Domestically, this movie will not hit what I said it would make on its opening weekend, which I said it would be like less than 45,000 or 45 million. Sorry, 45 million. Okay, which was the worst opening box office for Marvel film, The Marvels. Opening weekend, it made 46, I think it made opening weekend, and that was horrendous for them. Okay, again, Madam Web opened up at 15 million, and that was an absolute just garbage dump. And here we are with Borderlands at half of that at 8.8 million. Okay. Which is so bad. Yeah, Madam Web made more than Borderlands. Okay, so Borderlands made 8.8 million. So let's read. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick is still holding out for hope for Borderlands movie. Let's give the film a chance. Okay, before I get to this, we like to do this on Monday through Thursday. We read news stories, have conversations with live chat. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. So Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick is still holding out for the Borderlands movie, and let's give it film a chance. Now, obviously, he wants to say that because they're like, please, anybody, please, just go watch the movie. Don't say it sucks. Go watch it and then tell us it sucks. But we need you to tell us after you paid, not before. Okay. It says, look for Borderlands film sucks. It sucks bad, and it's likely some zero surprise that it's even been out online enough to watch even one of the pre-release trailers to catch the discourse around them. If you're lucky enough to avoid it in the critical reviews, it's been brutal. Okay, so it says, but critics and the audience can sometimes diverge. Right, plenty of movies out there attract big audiences and make serious bank, and we think that's likely to happen here. Takes CEO Strauss Zelnick hopes it will. Okay, he says, "quote Let's give the film a chance." Okay. He told IGN. A lot of people work really hard on this. Underlying intellectual property is phenomenal, and the cast is amazing, and I think they looked and feel it really terrific. Now, I love when they say this, right? I love when they use this to try to... They love to use this right here to make you feel bad, feel bad, right? They're like, oh, well, if I don't watch the movie, a lot of people worked hard. They worked hard on this. Let me tell you something. There's not something I don't do that I don't work hard on, okay? I worked in the film industry for 20 years. I worked on really shitty movies, and I worked on really good movies. I worked on really shitty television shows, and I worked on really good television shows, okay? I've worked on really good commercials and really shitty commercials. Every single time, good or bad, I still got paid. I still got paid. So do not think for 1 second that when they tell you a lot of people worked really hard on this, okay, to make you feel guilty that those people are not going to get work again. We'll work again. We'll work again in the film industry because we go from one project to the next, okay? We'll go from one project to the next, and we get paid up front. They're like, hey, would you like the job? And I'm like, yeah, I sure would. And they're like, great, come on over. What's your day rate? There you go. And I might work 3 days. I might work 3 months, okay? So don't think for 1 second that these studios make you feel guilty or give you a guilt trip because a lot of people worked really hard on this, so you should actually go out there. No. You did your job. Customers do their job. You put a product out there. You put a product out there for the trailer to sell it. That's what trailers are for. The trailer did not sell your film. Then people went to go see your film, and then they told you it was a shitty film. Okay? So in no way, shape, or form can you be like, oh, I feel sorry for them. Video games, books, movies, TV shows, they're all really hard to make. Not everyone's going to like it. Can't always have a bestseller. But goddamn, did they miss the bar on this one, okay? Zelnick interest stems from the fact that Gearbox is now Take-Two property, and the publisher acquired Gearbox from the Wreckage Embracer Group earlier this year at $460 million, which for the record is far less than half of the Embracer paid for Gearbox when it was picked up in studio in 2021, okay? Now, while Borderlands film has only been out for a day, what audiences have said so far has not been good. The audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is only 48%. I don't know what it is now. We'll look at it in a second. And while the miles above from beyond critical consensus of the official tomato meter, score currently sits at an impressive, awful 6%. It's still not good. This weekend will also be tell if Borderlands has any shot of filling the seats and making it back from the production budget is going to happen over the next 3 days. I don't think the big blockbusters are slated to debut this weekend, which is a little bit of good news for Borderlands. But again, this is bad news. It made $8.8 million. This movie will not make money, will not pass go, will not collect $200. Okay, it averaged $600 a theater in 3,100 theaters, which is absolutely just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So bad this weekend that my theater next to me, okay, on when I showed you guys on, was it Thursday? Thursday, it had 4 showings on Friday. It had 4 showings on Friday. Friday came, Friday went. Saturday came, Saturday went. Sunday came, there was 1 showing. 1 showing. That theater literally decided to remove the other 3 theaters, okay, of this, and they only had 1 theater. Now, I went to another theater that had 4 showings, right? I went to another theater that had 4 showings. I went to the 1 o'clock, I went to the 3 o'clock, I went to the 7 o'clock, and I went to the 10 o'clock, okay? All 4 theaters, combined total, 18 tickets. 18 tickets, okay? Amazing. Okay. Let's continue on here with Borderlands game developer responds to film's terrible reviews. Okay. I think this is the same one, though. Hold on, let me see. Oh, this is the same. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Borderlands movie squeaks in at $8.8 million over its U.S. box office weekend, which is about 6% of what it costs to market, okay, distribute, and make. Okay. As a critic in my job, it generally treats all things grace, but I feel pretty confident to say that Borderlands movie, which launched on shocking reviews, has not done well. I trust the opinion of my fellow PC gamer writer, okay, and having sat down and watched the whole thing, dubbed it tasteless. Much of no one involved seemed interested in saving an excuse to buy a bucket of popcorn. The critical reception appears that manifested that U.S. box office Variety reporting that Borderlands movie ranked in $8.8 million in its opening weekend and states And this is a movie that cost 115, actually cost 120 million to make, an additional 30 million to market this distribution. Okay. And that seems really low for marketing. That seems really low for marketing. Okay. An additional 30 million to market and distribute. 30 million. That's really low. And even on top of that, we'll just give it to them what it is. That's $150 million. Okay. Usually it's double to triple what they just said there. Okay. $100 million to make the film. Usually about double that. Okay. If not 1.5 times that. But we'll give it to them. Just 30 million. Okay. So that's 145, but really it's 150 mil because it's a $120 million budget. Adding those costs together, it means that Borderlands' U.S. performance over the weekend earned about 6% of what it cost. To put that in perspective, it now needs to sell the same amount of tickets roughly 16 additional times just to break even, which is not going to happen. Okay? Granted that the international release to come, and Forbes reports 60% of the production budget has already been covered by pre-sales, which just leaves an approximate $58 million, again, combining production and marketing distribution costs, to find after the fact before the cash starts flowing. It says, shuffle in some snide quip here, but I'm feeling a similar way to know that it felt looking at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which only lost Warner Brothers $200 million, but currently being played by, let's say, 86 people. Okay? So thinking about the amount of waste that came out of something like this is frustrating, especially since the Borderlands series seems characterized by tendencies to miss easy slam dunks. It's got killer aesthetics, and also, for the most part, gameplay is good and fun. I sank about 58 hours into Borderlands 3, its respective DLCs, but on the other aspect, namely the story overall direction, has been chronically mismanaged for years, and it's also sad to see him bleed over the movie, and I'm starting to see why HBO and The Last of Us writers Craig Mazin hoped off all the movie train before it could also become a proper wreck. Okay, so let's look at this, though, right? Is this going to affect... We had a podcast on Friday with Lono, and I said it's not going to have any effect on Borderlands 4 in any way, shape, or form, okay? Just to show you, even though that the movie sucks balls, okay, you can see that this is Borderlands 3, right? It's only 9,802, but the movie came out on Thursday last week. And since Thursday, it went up slowly, right? It's been an uptick of people interested in playing Borderlands 3, okay, and it's passed over 10,000 or whatnot. Okay, so there's interest there. Okay, Borderlands 2, same thing. It was below, and then slowly here it hit on Thursday. The movie came out. People were interested again. It started upticking over, not much, but there's an uptick of people interested in what it is. And then even Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which is the last game that came out, it's been really low. Okay, really low, and then all of a sudden it pops over 2,000, drops back down, but it's up to around 2,400 people in the last 24 hours. So you can see that the game itself is not going to be harmed by what the movie is. Unfortunately, the movie is just a really bad movie. Okay, even with the European and the rest of the world making its money, even if it does Madam Web numbers, okay, even if it does Madam Web numbers, which is the worst film to come out in the recent... It was the worst film this year. Okay? It was the worst film this year based on budget compared to what it made. Okay? Even if it does Madam Web numbers, and let's say it does the international 56 million, and it hits a worldwide of 100 million, it still loses money. Not so much because it was $150 million, so it gets close to that where it only loses 50 million instead of losing, 140 million. But it's never going to make money. This movie is done. Now, with the way the world is now, where we don't have DVDs and stuff like that, no one's buying this DVD. Okay, maybe they make some more money off of rentals and whatnot, but for the most part, this is a dead movie. Most movies have to make most of their money back in the first weekend, right? In the first weekend. Let's see. Sarge says, "Hey, bro, come on. They're saying that the review bombed. Isn't that always the answer? Oh wait, the woke shit. So they can't." Right? There was no wokeness in this film, Sarge. There was no wokeness in this film. This is just a bad film. Okay. So Borderlands makes $8 million. It gets beat out. It gets beat out by, let's look at the weeklies here. It gets beat out by Deadpool, which is in its third week, I believe. Third weekend. It's made $54.2 million, which in its third weekend still made more money than Marvel's made in its opening weekend. It ends with us, okay, which is a movie that has Ryan Reynolds' wife in it, Blake Lively. It made $50 million in its opening weekend, okay. Twisters, which has been out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it made $15 million. Borderlands comes in at $8.8 million, and Despicable Me 4, which has been out for like 5 weeks, which is closing in on $1 billion. It's like 800 million, 700, 800 million. That's closing. That made another 8 million, almost surpassed Borderlands in its 5th week out there, and it made $8 million. So Borderlands, unfortunately, is done. Let's see. Its ends. Do we know the budget of this one? Opening was 50 mil. I want to know what the budget of this film was. Oh. So this movie is very successful because this movie, starring Blake Lively, is a budget of 25 million, and it's already doubled that, right? It's already doubled it. So let's just say it costs 75 to 100 million to make its money for advertisement or whatnot. Even if it's just double the $25 million budget, another 25 million, so it's 50 million total. They've already made their money back. So congratulations to them. Then we had Randy Pitchford. Who, if he happens to come across this, it doesn't really matter, because if he blocks me, it doesn't really matter, because I'm just a small content creator, so it doesn't really, I don't care anyway. But he went off and blocked one of the largest content creators for Borderlands. Let me see if I could find the tweet. Right, he blocked a bunch of people. He's doing like not very smart of what he's doing, because he should have 100% not done what he's doing, because he's making it worse. He's making it worse because he's going out and asking people, why didn't you like it? Did you watch the movie? And the people that didn't see the movie, they're like, no, I don't want to watch your movie because it doesn't sell. He's like, well, then you can't talk about the movie. Okay. But I can see your trailer. I can read reviews. And based off of that, I can tell you what your movie is. But then when people were talking about the actual movie because they saw the movie and then give him constructive criticism, he then snaps back at them. Like, someone said the casting is bad. He's like, what do you mean the casting is bad? And he's like, well, do you really want a movie that looks like and feels like the game, like the same story, like adaptation? And everyone's like, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. Okay. Dolphin says, Paul Tassi said he felt threatened by Randy. Well, this is what happened with that whole thing. Let me see if I can get Paul's... Let me see if I can find this. He had an article. Out. Let's see. Did he pull it? Did he pull it down? I think he might have pulled it down. Oh, he's going... I haven't seen this. So he apparently went after... Look how petty Randy Pitchford is. Okay. Randy Pitchford put out... Should I read this? I'm going to try to build a bridge here because I'm an idiot. Dude isn't just a critic. Dude is out here making stuff. So he went out... after, I think he apologized to Paul, but he went out and said that Paul Tassi was basically, he attacked Paul Tassi because of it. Okay. Yeah, here it is. He says, yes, tagging me and insulting me with a paragraph broadcasted to 169,000 people, extremely normal behavior. and does not feel reinforced in anything I said. Thank you for unblocking me, sir. Right? So Randy Pitchford comes out and says, oh, except for that Paul Tassi guy, I was the point at that I was blocking him. So far, I was accidentally blocked 3 people, but not Paul Tassi. I thought he was being a dick. And so I blocked him on purpose. I unblocked him, but I might block him again. Something about this dude's attitude just feels off to me. I read some shit he wrote where he seems to act like he knows me, and there's like he knows something he doesn't. And he also doesn't rub me the right way. Bad vibes. But I don't know. Him and all he know what the writer writes on Twitter or who he knows. The internet can say a mess of sometimes. I strange to be someone who other than people can seem to what they think about to talk about or what I know super obsessed with and the stuff that me and my company make. And I know he's a dude who is also making a living talking shit. So good for him. I'm not in the mood to I want to fuck up his money, so I have to make it my dude be cool. That was a terrible read, but that's how he actually wrote it. So he came out against Paul Tassi, and now he's making amends with Paul Tassi, but he was attacking other people where so much so he blocked the #1 Borderlands community member who loves Borderlands and went to watch the movie, and he said it was a bad movie, and Randy didn't like that. Like, what? Right? And then when people say like the acting was bad or the casting was bad or the writing was bad or the movie was bad, he gets more uppity. He gets more upset at the thing, which I just find really, really odd because you're doing harm to yourself by doing this because, yeah, you're the creator of Borderlands, but you're not the creator of the movie. Okay? Now, maybe he's an executive producer or whatnot, but just chill, right? Don't make it worse. Okay? I'm trying to find out. Let me see if he has it here. I blocked a bunch of... I mean, you can block whoever you want. You know what I mean? I'm trying to find the one where he's talking about. So he's asking here, right? He's asking about this right here. Okay, someone says, for the Borderlands movie, I feel like they should have just done a retelling of the Borderlands 1, but with more depth than the game. I don't know why they disagreed or the source material so much or degraded from the source material so much and just have to be a non-Borderlands player would be confused watching it. So Randy comes out and says, is this a sentiment anyone else shares? Should the movie have done a one-to-one retelling of Borderlands 1 story? This platform yet somehow, like me, hear from someone like you, which is cool. Thanks for your advance and helpful, right? So he says, someone says, this is definitely the sentiment of a lot of us felt. I mean, as a Borderlands fan, we're supposed to be your target audience. 1,000%. Okay? So why was the movie simply not about Borderlands? First, it should have been rated R. Second, the casting should have were a bit strange, but it's also most importantly the story. And Randy comes out and says, so you saw the movie? You think the rating was impacted? I'm curious. What was from your movie that you also could have happened differently, better than what it's doing? Something that could have only been done with a rated R. Can you also think of anything that also could share with me? Right? And someone says, for one thing, the core elements of the games has been the comedy, the dialogue, which also have been more organic and also stifled by the rating requirements, similarly to the action of also could have been more visceral and less implemented. 2, he says those two things also could have been smoothed out roughly areas and given the plot more leeway to pass through the compelling moments. A PG-13 is rehashing and hamstrings 2 core elements of the IP. But ultimately, the movie faces a writing problem. Admittedly, it's harder to write an existing IP than new ones, especially when directing influence of the IP writers. Okay? Pitchford here says, Borderlands 1 is a PG-13 story, and that's the first problem. They should have been a R or PEGI-18 movie. He says that wasn't the question, right? He's asking a bunch of people. That wasn't the question, but did you see the movie? If so, can you tell me something specific that only could have been done in a rated R rating? I think he misses the point of why Borderlands needed to be a rated R film, right? It's the same reason that Deadpool needs to be a rated R film, okay? Certain people that want to watch the film feel like you're talking to them. The game was more mature, okay? The jokes and stuff were more mature, and this is why people shunned at it. They're like, it doesn't look very good, right? The casting, okay, is weird. Here, the guy says the main sentiment every Borderlands fans shares before or even touches the story is just how baffling the casting was. A 55-year-old Lilith, a generic Tannis and Moxie, and Kevin Hart as Roland. The movie was doomed before it even started filming the decision like those. Okay, and he continues by saying, the entire reason the IP even exists is because people enjoyed the games. To ignore these stories is always a mistake that instantly turns core audiences away. Borderlands 1 story wasn't as good as the second one, but partially due to the presentation and limitations fleshed out properly. It's also been made the perfect jumping off point for the movie franchise, and fans of the game would have definitely shown up and seen a retelling of the big screen again, provided the casting wasn't so insane. If only take of one thing away from this is please understand that the industry you are in is much bigger and is far more successful than Hollywood. Gone are the days of needing them. So do not ever tell me that you want it needs to be done, or when it comes to the franchise, tell your stories using the medium. Okay, which is wholeheartedly true, right? I always hate when they do video game stuff, right? Because the video game already told the story. Video game is much better in my opinion than the movies, and that's why I enjoy them, because I get to control the character, and the stories are much more rich because they can tell them over tens and 20s of hours, hundreds of hours. Okay, he comes back and says, it's strange to me how much age and height are important to some audiences like yourself. What do you mean? What do you mean? How is that strange? It's strange to us that you casted someone that wasn't ever, like, casting's super important. Can you imagine Harry Potter now, when he starts Hogwarts, okay? They redo Harry Potter, but you cast Daniel Radcliffe now as Harry Potter to play a 13-year-old, right? And be like, well, no, he's just playing a 13-year-old. Yeah, but he's a 30-year-old, 35-year-old now, right? For Randy Pitchford to say, it's strange to me how much age and height are important to some audiences like yourself. Like, what are we talking about, Randy? What are we talking about? The person's in their 20s. You casted a 55-year-old person. Roland is not Kevin Hart's size. It's so ridiculous. So the person after, which is the same person he was replying to, says, it's strange to you that people find it accurate representation of characters that enjoy important. Like, right? It's basic characterization. It's the beginning point of translating the look and feel of the character from Borderlands games onto the big screen. If age and height do not matter, it's more build at the height with heart, but it's definitely not where it ends. Why are you bothering accurately portraying them at all? Why not give Lilith yellow hair as long as Rapunzel? It's just hair, man. What is the hair so important? Why do you make Tiny Tina a grandma with a walker and the age is so important? It's just characterization. Like, this guy is 100% spot on, right? Like, if you don't care about the casting of a 55-year-old person for a 22 to 27-year-old Lilith, if you don't care about role, like, then why cast at all? Why even make these characters in the first place? You could have just made any characters. You could have told a brand new story with different characters in the Borderlands universe and not done anything. Sort of like what they did with Telltale games, right? They just took regular other people and threw them into the world universe of Borderlands and told a story. And yet, for some strange reason, this is the guy in charge of Borderlands. It's strange to me how much age and height are important to some audiences like yourself. That is everything. Has he not been awake when they're trying to race swap, or gender swap people in films? Like, what is he talking about? And every time someone has some sort of criticism for the film, first thing I was up, did you even see the film? Have you even seen the film? Did you see the film? I don't need to see the film. I can see that you casted Kate Blanchett, a 51-year-old, 55-year-old, for Lilith, who looks nothing like it. Yeah, Jason, that's absolutely correct. You know what I think? And again, this is just my thoughts. And I could be 100% off basis, but I've worked in the industry for 20 years, and I've come across a lot of people like Randy that want to schmooze, want to be with people in the industry, and they come across where they want to make it, and they're looking for the approval of other people, and they come across as awkward and whatnot. Okay. There's a completely different type of style of people that need to work in Hollywood compared to working in the film industry. Okay, people in Hollywood are cutthroat. People in Hollywood are most of the time thick-skinned. Okay, they eat you up and chew you out. Okay, it's not a very like they'll go tell you to fuck yourself. Okay, no problem. Okay, and it feels like he just doesn't understand that. It feels like he was trying to get in, and the people on set didn't like what he had to say or what he wanted to do because he's from the video game space, not the movie space. Now, again, I don't know how much he had to do with the movie, but I'm assuming they had an oversight in some things. Again, let me go see what he's probably a producer, I would assume. Let me go check IMDb real fast. Yeah, he had to be something, right? I don't see him. Let's see. All cast and crew. Not part of the writing credits. Yeah, he's an executive producer. Executive producer. He's not even a producer. Executive producers is people that just you know, toss you in there. Altern says gender swap, race swap, and now we got new category: age swap and height swap. Yeah, Dolphin, it doesn't look good. He's acting like a child. He's getting bullied. To me, it's so strange how you come across. Like, he's so shocked, right? He's so shocked. Here's another one. Someone goes, I would have preferred a retelling, or at least not changing anyone's backstory. Could have been an original movie, but with the characters and the lore that we love, and they absolutely do not have a PG-13, that's insane. Should have been 18 plus for all the jokes and the gore, and Borderlands has. Randy, again, just can't get it through his head. He's like, the rating matters to you? Did you see a movie? If so, can you tell me something specific I could have done with the R rating that would have made the movie better? Like if you've lost touch. You've lost touch as the person that made the game, right? Obviously, they went with the PG-13 because they thought more people would get to see the film. Because if you put a rated R on it, people are like, well, it could ruin it where less people go see the film, right? You want PG-13 because more kids, more people see it, make more money, okay? Right. But before this one, Titan, with Deadpool and Wolverine, the last one before that was Joker, right? It's not a win if you get rated R, But if you have the right film and your fan base around it would have gone seen it, right? Again, if you're making a movie about Borderlands, who are you making the movie for, right? Think about the Halo TV show. Who are you making the Halo TV show for when they made it to what it was? Some of you guys liked the Halo TV show, but majority of the population didn't like the Halo show. Who did you make it for? Right? There's a fan base of Halo fans that they went, fuck you. And they made Halo the way they wanted. Right? It makes no sense. If you're making a Borderlands film, you make it for the Borderlands fans. And then maybe you get other fans on top of that. Once they see the movie, they'll go, I didn't know there was a video game. How is it? And then they go watch it. Here, he's stuck again. He's stuck again right here. He says, yes, the first Borderlands story was hype enough. It could have been adapted. Also, casting was such a miss. I don't know about the Hollywood names so much as it being true to their age and personalities of the original characters. Wow. This is quite a compliment. I'm not sure I agree with the age and height matters at all in this kind of storytelling, though. It's interesting that matters to you. Did you see the movie? That's it. Did you see the movie? Randy, nobody wants to see the movie. You know why? Because the casting sucks. Come on, Ghostfister. Did you see the movie? I don't need to see the movie. I can see it in the trailer. Does Randy know there's a trailer? Does Randy know there's a trailer to see what the movie's going to look like before you go see the movie? Oh, these mother effers copyright stroked me from last year, just this weekend. From our Borderlands, no audio is playing, just the trailers playing with me and Sarge on the side of it talking about is this movie going to be good? They struck me down. Okay, they're on high alert right now because they think everyone's talking shit about it. Here's another one. When I heard there was a Borderlands movie. I thought it would be at least continue the story a little bit or add more detail. Jack Black as Claptrap is a horrible vision. Here comes Randy. Did you see the movie? I thought Jack did an awesome job. It was one of the highlights of the film. Cool if you don't agree, but I'm not sure I have actually seen it yet if you have this opinion. People saw the movie and said Jack Black was one of the worst parts of it. The movie should have been rated R. The franchise has relevant humor, gore, dark jokes, and are also PG-13 material. This cast was an absolute shambles. I love Kevin Hart, Kate Blanchett, but they're not Roland and Lilith. The rating mattered to you? Did you see the movie? If so, can you tell me something specific? Only I've done... Like, is this a bot? Is this a bot? Randy, are you a bot? You're saying the same thing. Did you see the movie? The rating mattered to you? The height? Did you see the movie? Did the rating matter? The height and age? I didn't know that mattered to people like you. But did you see the movie? Did you see the movie? Randy, I can tell you nobody saw the movie. Nobody saw the movie, Randy. $8.8 million. Nobody saw the movie. You can stop putting that in your tweets. Did you see the movie? No. No, they did not. No, they did not. You know why? Because the trailer told them not to go see it. Not the reviews. Not the reviews. The trailers. Dolphin says Nate saw half of it. Nate walked out. Nate was talking up the movie. Nate was like, I'm gonna go see it this week and I'm gonna buy multiple tickets. Nate, you still here? Did Nate leave? I wonder if Nate, if you're here, I want to know this. Okay? I want to know this. While you were sitting in the movie, and you were watching, in the back of your mind, were you going, oh, fuck, 30 was right. 30 was right, and I owe him. I just gotta know. It's just in the back of your mind. Nate left, didn't he? I'll have to ask him tonight when he comes in. Right? I gotta know. In the back of his mind, he's like, fuck. I'm gonna walk out of this theater. 30 was 100% correct. This movie will be on streaming by October. Maybe even by the end of September. Didn't he have like a 5 membership bet with someone about this movie, Mike? Yeah, me. Yeah, it was me. Altern says, but did you see the movie? Did you see the movie? I don't want to see the movie. Now, I talked about this on Thursday or Friday with Lono. I don't think this affects the game at all. I don't. The franchise is fine because the franchise is still a video game, right? And the people love the video game. It's one of the best-selling franchises of all time. Okay, sure. Did they hit a bump or two with some of the releases they had? Sure, but Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 will still live on. And if they make a Borderlands 4, sure, it might not sell as many as Borderlands 2, but it's still going to sell. I guarantee you it'll sell more copies than people want to go see this film. I mean, hell. What would it cost? Let me see something. They only, to make the same amount of money they just made from this movie, they have to sell 125,000 copies of the next Borderlands. Ah, my God. They only have to sell 125,000 copies of it. Why even make a movie? Why even make a movie? You fucked up. You fucked up. Titan says franchise is tarnished. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Like I said, I don't think Titan is going to make as many copies sold as a Borderlands 2, which sold like 20 million copies or whatever it was. Okay. I think Borderlands 3 sold somewhere between 15 and 18 million copies. Right. Borderlands 4 comes out, all depending on what they announce or what it is, or what it looks like. It sells 10 million copies. Easy. Easy. 10 million copies. Randy Argus says Randy doesn't need to know if you saw the movie to know what people mean by rated R listing. You could do more gore, more adult humor, and make it overall more visual adult themed movie. Yeah, but he wants to know. We did stuff in the movie. Did you see the movie? Did you see the movie, Argus, though? In the movie, we did stuff, right? I watched one review, and one reviewer said it needed to be rated R. There was a scene where one guy kills all these guys, but they never show it. It just cuts to everyone's dead. That right there is the reason you need rated R. Jarman says, my question 30 is, did people request refunds for those who actually went to see it? Now, Nate walked out. I don't think he asked for a refund. I don't know. We'll have to ask him tonight when he comes back into the stream. I mean, I would. You didn't finish watching the film. See, Altern, I think we can see a Borderlands TV show. I think if they made an animated TV show of Borderlands, I think it would knock it out of the park. I think they would learn the lesson from this. I think they come out, as long as they don't make any changes, race swap, change swap, gender swap anybody. They just take the game and make it into a TV show. I think it would be very successful. I think it would be very successful. But there's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs in there. Argus says, you know, he wants to know if you haven't seen it, you can immediately dismiss your opinion and not deal with it. Sure. Sure, but you know what? Those people still exist. Those people still have a voice. Those people can still say the movie sucks. Okay? Based on the trailer. I literally used to do a trailer. I used to do a show back in 2008, 2009. It was a YouTube show. Doesn't exist anymore because the channel got taken down because it was with this other organization I was with. It was called Trailers. And I did a show. It was animated. I did it all myself. Me and Sarge were the voices. It was called Trailers. We reviewed movie trailers and not the movies themselves. Based on the trailer, we would tell you if it's good or not and how much money it would make based on just the trailer. Okay? The reason trailers exist is for people to see if they are interested in the film. Okay? You do not need to see a film to say if it looks bad or not. He's just pissed. He's pissed off because it's his baby. Spider-Verse visuals for Borderlands TV show. I think if they just take the game, cell shade stuff, and bring it in, it could be very successful. Now, if you wanted to make an animated show, Argus, and take Lilith as Kate Blanchett as the voice of Lilith, and it's an animated show, and she looks like she's 22 to 27, and you have Kevin Hart as Roland as the voice, no problem, right? Taking those people and making them the voices of those characters, awesome. Taking those people and putting them in live action, completely different. It's amazing to me, though, that he's that thick-headed and just mad. Like, you have to be thick-skinned, man. Like, take criticism where criticism is given. And don't defend yourself every single time someone comes out and says, well, your show sucks. Your stream sucks. I don't like your book. I don't like whatever it is. Just like, cool. Those are the people that are watching your stuff. Going out and attacking those people comes off really disgusting, and then pushes other people that were gonna give you a shot going, no thanks. And the worst part is he's not even part of the studio and stuff. right? He's just an executive producer. Kevin Hart still doesn't fit his voice, though. Sure. But at the same time, at least it would have just been a visual, like, it would have been a vocal thing instead of a visual thing. Right? Some people said Kevin Hart actually was the best part of the film. They said Kevin Hart actually was the best part of the thing, where he wasn't funny. He wasn't actually trying to be funny. But I don't know. I didn't see it. And I'm not going to see it. I'll watch it when it comes to a streaming service just to tell you how bad it is. Because that's no money off, you know, not giving money to them. I'm looking up 61 of the worst blockbusters of all time. I want to see where it ranks in. The lowest on the list right now. Lowest on the list right now is The Last Airbender from 2010. It's at 5%. 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. Right now, this one's sitting at 9%. This movie sits at a 9% and a 50%. So let's see. 9% gets them just around Little Fockers or Crocodile Dundee 2. So that gets them right around here. So this is up to, it could be third overall worst film ever on Rotten Tomatoes. It was sitting at a 3% at one point. It was number one. It was number one on Rotten Tomatoes just a couple days ago. But we'll see where it ends. Come on, guys. I think we could do it. I think we can get it. You just have to go watch the film. You just got to go watch the film. Make sure you watch it and then give it a bad review. But did you watch the film, though? Wait a minute. There was an Independence movie in 2016, Independence Day Resurgence. I didn't know that existed. I didn't even know that existed. Like, look at some of these films. Look at some of these films that are on this list. 61 is Independence Day. Then you got Batman versus Superman. Then G.I. Joe. Then Jurassic Park. Alvin and the Chipmunks. Double Jeopardy. Double Jeopardy is actually a really good movie. Fast and Furious 2009. Last Call Pitches. What the fuck is... Oh, Pitch Perfect 3? Divergence series Insurgents. The Fantastic Four movie from 2005. Twilight Saga New Moon. Bedtime Stories. Daddy Daycare. Ghost Rider. Clash of Titans. Nutty Professor 2. Four Christmases. Twilight Saga Breaking Part 1. Da Vinci Code. 50 Shades of Grey. The Nun. Cheaper by the Dozen. Wait a minute. Cheaper by the Dozen's a great film. are we talking about? 56, 24% by reviewers. Oh, it's by the actual, like, by the news outlets. Pearl Harbor, Van Helsing, Evan Almighty, Bad Boys 2, The Flintstones, G-Force, Mr. Deeds, Take Two, or Taken Two, Patch Adams. Man, these reviewers are brutal, huh? Ace Ventura, Alvin and the Chipmunks sequel. General's Daughter, I agree with. The Smurfs, Daddy's Home 2. The Pacifier. Teenage Mutant Turtles back in 2014. Hangover Part 3. Transformers. Just Go With It. Identity Thief. Aren't most of these movies from, like, Netflix? Another Transformers. Ride Along. Hey, look. Kevin Hart's up there with Ride Along. There you go. Wild West. Another Transformers. Man, I'm glad I didn't watch the Transformers. Wild Hogs. I Pronounced You Chuck and Larry. Yogi Bear. The Mummy. 50 Shades of Freed. What? Is that like the sequel to 50 Shades of Grey? 50 Shades of Darker? Wait a minute. There was more movies of 50 Shades? This is fantastic. I didn't even know this existed. The Chipmunks movie, Grown Ups, Couples Retreat, Cat in the Hat, Crocodile Dundee, Little Fockers, Grown Ups 2, and Last Airbender. The new Fantastic Four must be there too. The new one? Like the one that came out. Let me see. How come it's not coming up? Fantastic Four 2015. Oh my god. Well, that list must be really old. Because this one's worse than the last one they showed. This is at a 9% and 18% audience score. I've never seen this. I've never seen this before. What did this make? What did this make at the box office? That's terrible. Fantastic Four 2015 made $333 million, right? That's 2005. 2015's Fantastic Four made $167 million. And that's $25 million domestic opening. And then 2007's Fantastic Four made $301 million. So the original Fantastic Four 2005 and 2007 did pretty damn good. I've never seen this one. I've never seen the 2015 one. Yeah, it's got to be an old list. Let me go see what year was this in? This whole list is outdated. Especially since we just saw Fantastic Four 2015. They missed it. It doesn't say what year this is. I think the other one is a parody. According to the critics, we're only allowed to watch Titanic, Avengers Endgame, and nothing else. Titan says 2005, 2015, 2025. Marvel keeping the trend on movie releases every 10 years. It's because they have to keep making them, or otherwise they lose the licensing. That's why they just got back. You got to remember, they just got back the Fantastic Four because Fox owned them before. Fox owned them before. So when Marvel got it back, they couldn't make it until they a certain period had to pass. Because they just got the X-Men, they just got Fantastic Four. What a coincidence, though. Sure. But did you see the movie, though? That's the perfect face. When Randy asks you, have you seen the movie, though? Yeah, she looks like Lilith. Did you see the movie? What happened to the Craven movie? They pushed it back after Madam Web. Madam Web came out and they were like, they pulled that handbrake. It's still coming out. It's still coming out. Yeah, it's Lilith's mom. I think they could have done a better story that way. Can you imagine? They just rewrite the story. It's not really Lilith. It's Lilith's mom. That's not Tiny Tina. It's Tiny Tina's mom. That's not Roland. That's Roland's dad. They just happen to have the same names. I wonder if there's if someone created who would be casted, you know what I mean? How old is Oh, she would have been really good. Still a little old, but she would have been a lot closer. There's a casting of Elizabeth Olsen as Lilith, right? Here's the casting that they have on this particular website. Okay, they have Elizabeth Olsen as Lilith. They have Emma Mears as Tiny Tina. Patricia Tannis, or I'm sorry, Aubrey Plaza as Tannis. Jamie Foxx as Roland. Oh, Steven Zane would have been perfect for Scooter. Is he in there? Is Scooter in the movie? He would have been perfect. I think Olsen would have been a really good pick. She's 35. At least she looks like she could be in her 20s. Ron Slusher says, Borderlands movie just needed more extraction scenes. Would have been fine. Eclipse says they could have done something like that, like you meet the first Vault Hunter in Borderlands 3, right? By Randy's logic, 30, be the next Harry Potter. That's right. What's the big deal about the height and age? It doesn't matter. DMX says, hear me out. The voice actor for Claptrap playing Claptrap, that would never happen. You know why? Him and Randy Pitchford hate each other. Hate each other. Randy wouldn't let him be the voice if he was the last man on Earth. I still gotta watch Godzilla -1. I haven't seen it. There's a new Claptrap voiceover for 3. Yeah, because the original Claptrap, the guy didn't want it. He was really good. Oh, you're talking about the guy from 3? I mean, obviously, he didn't want to do that, right? Because why would you give a voiceover work for a guy who did voiceover work? Come on. You think Randy thought that far ahead? He's still wondering why, if you saw the movie, and why age and height matter. You think he cares about the guy doing Claptrap? Got Jack Black. This is why I think what I'm telling you, he's trying to rub elbows with people in Hollywood, right? He's trying to be cooler than he is. He's trying to get in and be like, oh my God, you're Jack Black. You know, we should get Jack Black to be Claptrap. What? And I'm fine with Jack Black being Claptrap. I'm not okay with Cate Blanchett, and I love her as Lilith. If you were giving $1 million to sit through a Madam Web or Borderlands, which one would you choose? I would choose Madam Web. You know why? I know nothing of the character of Madam Web. Nothing. I know a lot about Borderlands, so I'd be way more pissed off to watch Borderlands and not get a Borderlands film. Madam Web, I know nothing. So I would just sit through it like whatever. It's so strange to me. It says, it would have been better if the actors played new original characters in Borderlands film. The film's still canon in the games, just like Amazon Fall TV series. That's what I said. That's what I said earlier. It would have been easier if they just made them new characters. Just new characters. Not the characters from the game. You see Jack Black as Steve in Minecraft. It looks like they gave him a toy axe and took a picture. I think that movie is going to be something sort of like where it's reality first and then he gets sucked into like the game, sort of like a Jumanji type of thing. That's what I feel like it's going to be. There's no way they do. I don't know why you would do live action Minecraft. I know they're doing live action, but like Lion King is live action, but it's CGI. Do you know what I mean? Like I think they make Minecraft into live action, but it's animated with live action. Didn't Amazon renew Lord of the Rings show for another season? They did. Rings of Power. Don't you ever call it Lord of the Rings. Rings of Power. A mix of live action with Lego movie. Yeah, something maybe along the lines of that. Maybe something along the lines of like a Roger Rabbit, where it's like, you know, cartoony, but not. I think Randy Pitchford should go to his new job should be marketing. We should do. Oh, Sarge sent me a video about PlayStation controllers. And I watched it, and I want to bring it up. I'm not going to watch it today. Maybe we'll watch it tomorrow. But there was a video about how PlayStation is scamming people with their controllers. And I thought it was interesting. And I don't even think it's their own. I don't even think it's just them. I think it's everyone. But I thought it was really interesting. I was like, oh, that'd be good to watch. So we might watch that tomorrow. All right, it's almost 1 o'clock. PlayStation has a cool-looking Concord control. Actually gives Starfield vibes. Oh, that's good. I loved Roger Rabbit when I was a kid. I remember what movie theater I went to go see it in. That was great. No, but the way the guy was talking about, he was a PlayStation and owner, and he was saying that he didn't realize it was a scam until what happened to him, and then what he tried to do. So I thought it was interesting. But obviously, if he was a person that owned the other Xbox and something happened to him, maybe the same thing. Maybe I'll look it up and see if something happened with Xbox, but this person is a PlayStation owner, and he talks about how it's a how it's screwed up. And it's planned that way, by the way. Planned that way. Clip says, yeah, the whole new sticks that are coming out, magnetized ones, are so stupid for them not to go that way. They just want them to break, so you have to buy more. Yeah, but the way they make you do it, it's weird. Yeah. You can also use the Concord controller as you're picking your AI made pronouns, having a blue-coated wearing avatar in Concord. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be great. That game is going to be the Borderlands of video games when it comes out on August 23rd. It's going to be an absolute success story for Concord. My PlayStation controller has horrible stick drift, and I don't even play on PlayStation. Yeah, but we'll watch it tomorrow. We'll watch it tomorrow. We will watch it. We'll watch it tomorrow. All right, that's going to do it for me today. I appreciate you guys coming out for this Monday edition of 30NSG, the Daily Grind. We're here Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till about noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond it, become a member as little as $5. We're going to be playing some more Marvel's Midnight Suns tonight. So come on by. Hang out with us as we chat, as we play through the game. 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Make sure you hit all the things on the way out. Go check out some of our other videos. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.